better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning and happy Saturday to you. Or you a bit peaky? A little bit tired? Did you have a wildfire alarm going off through the night? I think I did. It just started bouncing around my head like a ping pong ball. I kept thinking it was going off all the time. And then when my actual alarm went off this morning, I didn't trust it. It was like the boy who cried wolf. I was like, no, I'm in Zone 1 Central London. Ain't no wildfires around here, thank you very much. And then about an hour later thought, oh, hang on, I've got a job to do. Maybe I should check the time. So, been a little bit manic this morning, which is no doubt going to be the tone and the pace of the entire show, as per usual. Do join in the conversation today. If you're at a loose end and you want someone to chit-chat to, well, I'm here with a very different emotional support animal today. My comfort creature this Saturday is Matthew Goodwin Freeman, because Peter Barnes is gallivanting away at some wedding somewhere.
Oh, lucky him. Well, anyways, no, I get to spend the day with you, which I'm very happy with. So, yeah, lovely to see you.
I like the fact your instant reaction is Lucky Barnes. Doesn't have to
gallivanting away, but anyway.
Studio with me today.
Oh, dear.
But anyway, if you want to join Matthew and I in conversation for a bit of communal catharsis, as I like to call it, you can call 0344 499 1000. It is your normal network rate, which means we don't take any money to hear your thoughts and give you the opportunity to opine from a metaphorical soapbox. No, free speech in Talk Towers truly is free. 8722 is the number if you'd like to send a text message. If you're going to do that, write the word talk before you write your message. Of course, you can also send a WhatsApp message, or indeed leave me a little ditty on voice note on WhatsApp. I mean, because normally we have various little teasers and jingles that people send in for me and Barnes on a Saturday, that the wonderful tech op queues up on his system and presses multiple buttons and allows them to ring out.
Talk radio.
There we go, straight away.
Woman on a common sense show.
I love it.
Well, we obviously need some upgrades, because I don't know how people are going to sing Matthew Goodwin Freeman.
No, just say Matthew, it's fine.
MGF. MGF.
MGF, that's it. Nice. I like that
You
one.
do sound like a sort of fast food additive.
A fast food additive. I was going for, like, you know, JFK or FDR and MGF. But no, KFC, clearly.
I'm slightly disappointed in your name.
Oh,
because
sorry.
I feel
Blame my parents.
like if we're really going to get into a nice sort of iambic pentameter beat, you need another name. It needs to be Matthew something Goodwin Freeman.
Well, I've got 2 middle names.
Oh my goodness! Can we
got-
have the whole thing?
Matthew, John, Adam, Goodwin, Freeman.
No, it doesn't work
they're all
rhythmically.
different parts of the family.
It
so
needs to be Matthew Goodwin Freeman. It needs a
I'll work on it. I'll get it back to you by the end of the 3 hours.
I want it to, you know, fit in a Shakespearean
Matthew
sonnet by the end of it.
Goodwin Freeman.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. The iambic pentameter.
yeah.
Matthew. Anyway, and like I said, the iambic pentameter, the favourite meter of William Shakespeare, and well, something that feels rather Shakespearean, actually, is what is actually a tragedy: the death of Jason Arday, the former University of Cambridge professor who was found deceased in his home yesterday. It's hard to know what to say about this because everyone is sort of sitting back, and I think we're all thinking something similar, which is, I don't think anyone thought this man was vindictive, malicious, unpleasant at all. At all. We all thought it's quite, in some respects, entertaining, some of the stories that we were learning. Obviously, there were lots of memes, there were lots of jokes surrounding it. It was a tantalising, it was a tantalising narrative. And quite unlike anything that I've seen before in the press. But I think today we're all thinking to ourselves, it's a bit like Inspector Calls, you know, trying to look for who to blame, what to blame. And I don't think there is an individual person. I think in some respects, the sort of tragedy of Jason Arday is a mirror on all of society. It's the story of how various cynical institutions wanted to use this man essentially as a mascot. Exactly. They fetishised him. They promoted him to positions that perhaps weren't feasible. But also, at no point during this process did any of the other people around him who were supposed to be top academics and, you know, learning institutions, which you'd think would have a degree of safeguarding, albeit for students as well as teaching staff. And it seems to me that at no point did anybody step in and, first of all, we discussed it through the prism of DEI. Did no one step in and say, are you sure you did all of those things, Jason? Because it sounds a bit improbable. Yeah. But also, equally, no one then stood in and said, are you OK?
Yeah, exactly
because,
that.
And I would have assumed, as the media furore kicked off, I would have assumed that someone out there. I was reading, you know, articles in newspapers with psychologists sort of diagnosing what could be possible mental health conditions. Well, why am I reading psychologists diagnosing possible mental health conditions and the man himself was not being cared for? Yeah. Potentially by a psychologist. I don't know what's going on.
There are huge questions over this. I think James Cleverly has summed this up really well, actually, saying that he was put into positions of power without the support and so that they could show they had a black wonder kid to show off. And that's part of it, using DEI to put him into positions and then not having any care or support afterwards. And it is really sad. This is a tragedy, and at the end of the day...
It's tragic.
It's all to do with possibly plagiarism. That's it. That's it. We're not talking about he's murdered someone. We're not talking about... It's talking about plagiarism.
It's more than... Yeah, I mean, it's more than that, really, because this is a man who... this is a man who clearly had a penchant for wanting to be wanted, to be adored, wanted to be thought of as special.
That
and
celebrity
he seems like quite a meek soul. He didn't seem like a big sort of I'm looking at pictures and just thinking he wasn't a sort of big grandstanding, arrogant, overbearing type. But I think underneath there clearly was, where he's building up these narratives of all of his grandiose achievements, there's clearly a call to help somewhere in there. Yeah. And that is what, in all of this, in all of the media reporting, in all of the academic institutions, they're thinking, oh, we're being exposed because we didn't go through due care, we didn't, you know, due process, due procedure. The media pylon, we're all responsible for that. The social media pylon, I've just been through that myself. It ain't easy. It's not nice. But in all of this, clearly there was a young man who needed support, not needed to be emblematic of social madness.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be looking through everything through the prism of race, whether it be this sort of inversion of the truth where certain people and certain facts and certain information no longer pertain because actually there's an overarching narrative which is far more interesting or desirable. And I just think it's extremely sad. This was a young man with family. He had children. I'd imagine he was quite beloved by colleagues. In fact, listening to one of his former colleagues on the Today programme this morning, who'd been speaking to him hours before his death. And of course, we're speculating he may have taken his own life. Nothing's been said to that effect. But yeah, he spoke about how he had been saying to this man, "I'm really struggling. I'm struggling now with what's going on." And if you end up thrust in the public eye, if you are in the public eye, or if you end up being thrust in the public eye, there needs to be systems of safeguarding around you. We've seen this with reality television programmes.
Yeah, exactly that.
And the point is this, we live in this sort of world of everything becomes reality TV now. Everything is Kardashianised in the UK.
It's all on social media, it's there immediately,
Yes.
can go around the world. I mean, that's the sad thing about this, you know, as you say, the statement from his family was an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. But one point where I disagree with the reaction that's happening is for people to instantly jump to their own conclusions about it. So Zara Sultana, for example, has gone immediately down the race baiting, saying that if Jason Arday was a white middle-class academic, he would not have been hounded by the British press in the way he was. Well, he may well not have got to the positions that he was in if he was a white middle-class academic. This is the whole point. There is a bigger picture to this than simply playing the race card. He was put into a position of high office. With that comes high scrutiny, but there should have been the support for him. So let's see what comes out after the... there'll no doubt be, obviously, an inquiry and a coroner's report about what actually the circumstances were. Let's see what happens there. But the institutions have to look at themselves, because over the last 3 or 4 years, everyone's jumped down this DEI route. Everyone's tried to say, what boxes can we tick? Who can we have? Who fits a picture that we want to portray? This is actually the consequences of it. When people who aren't able to cope in those circumstances are put into positions and not given the support.
But this fetishisation of identity politics, where someone like Arday, because he so wanted to be appreciated and affirmed, and you had various entities so willing to do that because they thought, how great do we look as a result? Whether it be the academic institutions, but let's not forget there's a publishing house as well, which was eagerly jumping on wanting to get that memoir out as soon as possible. They had pound signs in their eyes.
Exactly.
You know, they wanted to make money, they wanted to capitalise financially from this. And it is that sort of... You often get this with people who are drawn to reality television. The producers of those series want to have the biggest, brashest, most extreme characters, the people who are going to be the most entertaining because they are the most unique, they are the most eccentric. They're not your ordinary humdrum, you know, Dave from up the road. But often people with certain personalities like that are often masking something underneath, which is far, far more vulnerable.
Or portraying.
Yeah.
Portraying a personality or a persona because they know that it ticks the algorithm or it ticks certain boxes that get further.
And this is it. I think that this is a sort of, as I said, it's sort of a comedy turned tragedy, and a big tragedy, sincerely a big tragedy, that reflects this sort of very disposable way, and we look at individuals, this way in which we fetishise characteristics and narratives, the way that we've just sort of given up on reality and pragmatism and truth, the way that anybody can be used as currency in the world of, you know, reality, television and reality. Because to me, that's more what this became. It became like reality television. No doubt there's already someone somewhere pitching a documentary and a Netflix series and a film. It's almost like something from Black Mirror.
Well, that's... Ironically, I was going to just say, I think this is going to be ending up as a Black Mirror episode. Because it is that. It's this... I remember there was that one episode where everything is now done on your reviews. And everyone's reviewing everyone. Everyone's trying to be this perfect person to get those 5-star reviews. And that becomes your form of currency. I mean, you talked about, obviously, his memoir. That came out in the US literally earlier this week, and it's supposed to be coming out in the UK later in August. I hope that all the money that comes from that and all the profit actually goes to his family. And I would call on the publishers to say, do you know what, actually, we're going to not take our profit share. let's give it to the family as well, because he's got to have some sort of a legacy. But also, this has, we always say this, there's got to be some change. We've got to stop this whole DEI appointment. We've got to start putting people into positions who either they are up to that standard, or if they aren't, we support them to get to that standard. Because there's a human tragedy at the end of this. People's lives are being lost. His life has just been lost.
And for an era that is so consumed with constantly talking about mental health, it doesn't realise this era creates a lot of mental health issues. You know, the identity politics, the living life online, the algorithms. You know, this is tearing society apart, and it's deeply affecting vulnerable individuals. And I think it's actually creating, without wanting to pathologise the social impacts of social media, I genuinely think that it is creating completely new psychological conditions. You know, we know that young women suffer from things such as selfie dysphoria. They're so used to using filters when they take photographs of their faces. When they look at their own faces in the mirror, they are so disappointed in what they see and are being pushed to have plastic surgeries. It all interrelates. This whole sort of sense of everybody becoming an avatar of themselves, which is dehumanising. And in many respects, that is what Arday represented. He had become, to Cambridge University, to the publisher, to media discussion at large, an avatar of something else. Whether it was the avatar of the youngest miracle black professor, whether it's the avatar of the man who managed to do all these incredible feats and overcome medical conditions, or whether it's the avatar that represents DEI. Underneath it all, the human being, Jason Arday, was in pain.
And this, when I remember growing up with social media blowing up everywhere, people would care how many likes they got within the first 15 minutes of a post and things like that. It is a world out there that people don't realise. And I say to every parent of a child, or even just of adults, you do not realise what is actually going on in people's phones. You do not realise the power of social media. To all parents who think, I know what my kid's doing, I know what my kid's seeing, I know the content they're looking, you really don't. And that's not trying to tell you you don't know what you're doing. You don't realise how easy it is for a kid to access stuff, to find stuff, to cover things up, to cover up the tracks. It is a world out there that we are not ready for. And young people are going to... well, there's this whole thing about obviously banning social media for under 16s, but young people in particular are exposed to technology and things that none of us have ever experienced. There is 100 times more power in one of these mobile phones than put man on the moon. That's what's going on right now that we're just giving kids access to. Forget the days of books. People were given phones as soon as, you know, they're born, effectively, now. I mean, I know kids who can use a phone at 6 years old better than I or my parents could ever use a mobile phone.
It's funny, we are social animals, human beings. Evolutionarily, we're social animals. You put one of us by ourselves in the jungle, we ain't going to get on so well. But as a group, as a species, we work together and, wow, look out the window, look at all the buildings, look at the cranes, look at, you know, trains, cars, all of it. But one of the most necessary evolutionary reflexes as a social animal is the shame reflex. That sense that I could be ostracised from the pack, and that is of great peril, that is of great danger to me, which is why shame and social shame are such crippling emotions. And this is, in many respects now, because he was so fetishised and promoted and given a spotlight, and then all of a sudden it's taken away and he's being mocked, he's being critiqued, he's being questioned. That level of social shame must have been extraordinary and extraordinarily unbearable. Now, I know people who have gone through, you know, the shaming on social media, not naming names, but I kind of know what that feels like. And it is extremely deeply wounding. You have to have a very solid spine and an extremely solid support network. And I just, during all of this, I would have thought someone would have said, come on, you know, Jason, let's go and I'll give you some support, or, you know, get away from it, turn off the... whatever it may be, whatever's going on.
Media, X isn't everything.
But it became so big. It was allowed to grow into something so enormous. By the end point, he would never have had an ordinary life again, ever. And this is the thing about when when you look at people who may or may not have certain psychological profiles, who are then enabled and encouraged and used and chewed up and spat out for the purposes of the self-aggrandisement of a company or whatever it may be. We need to be very aware of this in society. It's not an entirely uniquely 21st century phenomenon. You know, you look at celebrities throughout the ages who actually, you know, fame is very alluring. It's very appealing, but the price of it can be deadly.
You said it perfectly at the top. He was used. He was used to tick boxes, to go into positions that maybe he wasn't ready for, and we're seeing the human consequences of it. I predict it will probably happen again. We won't learn our lessons. Institutions won't change. It will probably happen again and again and again until we finally get to a point in this country and as a society where we say, do you know what? Forget this. Forget the whole DEI thing. Forget the you know, putting people into positions at all.
Exactly. I think this is very complex. And one thing I don't want to do, people are sending in messages and comments about this, and I don't want to read things out, which is blaming this person or that person or just one thing. I think we all partook in some way in what's just happened. I think we did. I think those who enabled him, I think those that then sort of thought this was an entertaining story that reflected the madness of a generation. Like I said, I think it holds up a mirror to society at large. And I think that that is something that we need to be very poignantly aware of. And I certainly will be thinking and praying for Jason and his family, actually, because I do think underneath it all that there was no I don't think there's any wickedness in that man. I think he was actually quite a dear soul who wanted to be seen.
Yeah.
Right. We will leave it at that for now. OK. We'll just go straight to break, because I don't, like I said, I don't really want to sort of start opining and reading messages all about the death of Jason Arday. I think we should just let the man in peace now for a moment. So I will not encourage messages about Jason. But we are going to be moving on and talking about other news stories after this. So if you want to get involved in all the other conversations, then you are invited to. We would love to hear from you. And like I often say, this is where you can come for some communal catharsis. We're all a family together here at Talk, and every voice matters. So if you want to have your voice heard this morning, 03444 999 1000 is the number to dial. It's your normal network rate. You can use that number as well to send me a WhatsApp message or leave me a voice note on WhatsApp. Update the jingles, because, you know, Matthew something Goodwin Freeman needs a jingle.
I'm looking forward to actually hearing some suggestions.
I actually want
quite
some
interested
sort of
now.
80s sort of tinned beat. You know, you're too young to remember when people used to have these keyboards with demos on, and you'd press a button and there'd be like some sort of horrible like tss-dum,
Maybe we'll get some suggestions throughout the show. I'm not sure.
In fact, why is everyone just sings? Why has no one actually used a musical instrument for the jingles thus far? There you go. There is a challenge for you. 03444 999 1000. 8722 is the number if you'd like to send a text message. If you're going to do that, write the word talk before you text. We're back after this.
He didn't need to call that by-election, and he spent the entire summer fighting a bin who got nearly 10,000 votes. The winner, I suspect, actually is Clacton, because the Count Bin-Face stuff went all over the world, and there are many people around the world, especially in the States, that are looking at Clacton and saying, rather nice, you know, maybe we'll go there on holiday next year. Clacton actually looked rather nice in the sunshine, and Clacton itself is the gainer. Farage made a complete fool of himself. He treated his constituents with total contempt. He didn't even bother to turn up to the count.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I was looking through the glass there at TechOp, who seemed to make eye contact with me, so I was poised. I was poised for some sort of jingle, but no, he's just sort of shrugging.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
We're saving it for the end. I don't know.
We'll get there. We'll have something. Don't you worry. Someone somewhere is digging out their old school recorder.
We're going to find
and,
something.
Putting something together for us right now.
Oh, dear.
Let's talk about Nigel Farage and Clacton, because as I came into work, I woke up listening to the Today programme and then came in, and the driver had LBC on, and it was sort of Farage Fest on LBC, but in a less than positive way. They weren't there sort of going, wow, didn't he do well in that by-election? He's just proven that, you know, the people of Clacton love him. No, not at all. They are still banging on about the 5 million. They're not going to let it go. And, of course, the investigation has now reopened after the by-election victory. I'm going to put my cards on the table. I didn't like the fact he called a by-election. I didn't. I just thought there was something... something a bit off about it. Because it had come in the wake of the sort of communist coup, the bloodless coup of Andy Burnham and calling the by-election in Makerfield, and I just thought, you know, they're going to attack you for the 5 million anyway, so why do it? And now, the other thing that sort of disgusted me, frankly, about the whole Clacton furore was Count Binface and all the legacy parties just delighting in the fact that the people of Clacton weren't having a serious by-election. They wanted Nigel Farage calling it to look like a farce, but they themselves made it into a farce through the boycotting, and then through the sort of smug, you know, wink, eye-rolling, he's going to fight a bin over the summer, ha-ha, isn't that funny? And I thought to myself, when politicians themselves are laughing at not following a democratic process, laughing about the general public, because these are real people and real voters, only getting cartoon characters as candidates other than Nigel Farage, that is disgusting. It really shows how demeaning the political establishment have become towards ordinary people. Now what we're learning is, you know, they're salivating, they're gnashing their teeth, they're dribbling off their chins in a rabid frenzy because the investigation's going to go on. And already, Conservatives are running off to the newspapers going, in the next Clacton by-election, which we will compete in when we know that Farage's reputation has been dragged through the mud as much as possible, we don't think Labour should stand, so we can win it. Can you stop? Can we just have decency in democracy, please? No. I mean, look, you're a Conservative. What do you make of this? No sooner has he won the Clacton by-election than you've got senior Tories running around asking for a stitch-up to try and stop Nigel Farage. I'm fed up with politics being about stop this or stop that instead of here's an idea of how I'm going to govern the country, and then getting on and doing it. I'm fed up with us being in constant campaigning mode because it means nobody in Westminster's doing their actual jobs that we voted them to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Westminster has almost been paralysed since Christmas because Keir Starmer was on the downfall, everyone was waiting for Andy Burnham, then finally the opportunity of the Makerfield by-election came along, Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister, then we have this by-election, now we're on the summer break, then we're going to have another by-election. Like, can we get on and govern this country? We have so many issues to get on with. We have a government with a huge majority. Like, seriously, guys, get on with the job that you've been put in Parliament to do. I do agree with you. I don't understand why this by-election had been called in the first place. I completely understand everything that Reform was saying and what Nigel Farage was saying about his family and the press intrusion. I get that. But there didn't need to be this by-election. I can completely see the play. Reform have already let the cat out the bag, saying that, well, we've had this by-election now, it would be stupid to have a second by-election.
It was done to spike the other one, the inevitable one.
But the fact is, the second one is the one that is going to have to take place if he's suspended for more than 10 days and more than 10% of the Clacton constituency asked for a by-election. So if the second one was always going to happen, why wait and have this? It's a play that you can see the holes through it. On this pact to try and beat Nigel Farage, I mean, again, I wish we were in a part of politics where you offer something positive. You say, let's focus on the country, let's focus on Clacton, let's focus on the things that matter locally, rather than stop this person, stop that person. But I can see the play. I don't think a deal will be done because it's just not in the spirit of what the major parties do. We don't tend to do deals with people just stop someone else. But when we're looking at the next general election, we have a choice. We have a choice of a right-wing government, whether that's Reform, the Conservatives, Reform and Conservatives, whatever makeup it is, or a left-wing government with Labour, the Greens, with the Lib Dems, which, frankly, no one knows what they stand for anymore. That's the choice this country is going through. And at the moment, we have a Labour government with the biggest majority that anyone's seen in generations, who can't stop a boat, who can't keep taxes down, who can't keep to their basic promises they made in the manifesto 2 years ago.
They can make a blimmin' good TikTok video, though.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
that's going to save...
That's the thing
that
dictates
save civilization.
Everything. Absolutely.
But this is the thing, and look, as soon as I read this, I can hear the tone of voice in this. You know, senior Conservatives have said this, the senior Conservatives have said that. Either way, Kemi's being clear she's going to throw everything at it. Reform's laughable overselling of Farage's poor performance shows they're clearly worried this isn't over. It wasn't a poor performance. There was a smaller turnout, but a greater vote share. It was the opposite of a poor performance. But it's just if these senior Tory fingers doing it, it reminds me, ever since Brexit, I mean, actually, ever since sort of John Major, Margaret Thatcher, I'm afraid to say, when it comes to backstabbing, plotting, factions, gossiping, running off to the newspaper, running your mouths, looking like venal, vainglorious, sanctimonious, completely disconnected, arrogant idiots, the Conservatives take the blimmin' trophy. They really do, every time. And, you know, and I think they've forgotten that this is why the general public voted them out. Yeah. They didn't vote Labour in, they voted the Conservatives out because all we saw were games and more games and more games. And they might be pushing out going, oh, yeah, look, Kemi, isn't she great? She's having a revival, it's a renaissance, it's a resurgence. Isn't she great? You know, speaking about her in a one-word format, like she's some sort of Brazilian footballer. And no one knows the team she plays for. No one can name anybody in the shadow cabinet, but what they do know is they don't like them because all we ever had from them was nonsense, was parlour games, musical chairs.
Yeah. Well,
you know, let's run off to the 1980, whatever it was, committee, 1922 committee, and they'll all put in secret little votes and ballots. And if they think that boycotting an election, if they think then saying to Labour, stand aside in that election, if they think playing all the games that they're still playing, and we know what they're doing, or were doing, or maybe still are doing when it comes to Restore Britain, if they think that this is somehow going to exonerate themselves, that they can trick and fool and manipulate and blackmail and play games with the public to make them get back into office, they better think again. Well, because that's why they're not in office.
This is the thing. The public are going to get fed up at some point. They're going to get fed up of having constant by-elections in Clacton. They're going to get fed up of having politicians say one thing and do the other. I mean, we had that petition, what was it, within a year of Labour coming into power, calling for a general election, getting to over 1 million signatures. People are fed up. We want things done. We actually want stuff delivered. So what I would call for is that we all stop talking about the past, stop pointing, stop finger-pointing at people, and start delivering. If you make a promise, actually stick to it. Whether it's on local government, whether it's on mayoralties, whether it's on national government. If you promise to do something, actually deliver it. And if you can't, do the honourable thing. Because back in the day, if a Chancellor couldn't deliver something in their budget, or if the Prime Minister couldn't deliver something in their manifesto, they would resign. There would be that honourable part of trust in politics. We don't have that.
Who to you has the most grown-up politics? Be honest with me now. Because I look at the Labour Party and I see Andy Burnham running around like a little 14-year-old
left,
fool.
right and centre.
Like an idiot. I mean, I just think it's so embarrassing that this is our Prime Minister who is almost doing a sort of popularity contest campaign. After the fact, popular. He's conducted a coup, and is sort of, you know, meeting this out via what, you know, basically teenage tools. Then I see the Conservative Party running around, beatifying Kemi, but not really offering much, but constantly back in the mindset of let's coup, let's boycott, let's gamify everything. Then I see Ed Davey, who likes to live on a body of water, wear a knitted jumper and just turn everything into vibes, Tupperware party politics.
He's got the poor TikToks compared to Andy Burnham's brilliant ones.
Yeah, then I see the Green Party, who, well, I don't even know what that's that mess is. That is just one
Used to be
giant
about
head
the climate,
case of
then about
infantilism.
gender identity. Now it's about Palestine.
Right.
You know, it's
and so
happy coalition.
genuinely, when I look at who's actually doing grown-up politics, holding press conferences, doing Q&As with the media, telling people what their policies are, it's actually reform.
Well, you'd expect me to disagree because the Conservatives do that as well. The Conservatives are the official opposition in Parliament who've secured the 27 U-turns on the Labour government and all these sorts of things. I mean, frankly, if it weren't for Kemi exposing everything going on with Mandelson, then we would never have got to the point of Keir Starmer resigning. But look, it is the Conservatives and Reform who are leading the way in this country right now when it comes to the narrative that we're having. Whether it's about the small boats, I think Reform are miles ahead of any party when it comes to talking about the small boats issue, because, frankly, everyone else has dropped the ball on that. We've seen it get worse. Reform have talked tough. I'd like to now see the policies come through of actually how it would be delivered, how it would fight court cases, judicial reviews, all that sort of stuff. But when it comes on plans for, like, the economy, when it comes to scrapping stamp duty, all those sort of things, I think the Conservatives are offering things too.
Yeah.
But frankly, this is what I come back to.
But they need to stop getting in their own way.
But this is my point. We have a right-wing possibility for the next government, or we've got this loony left-wing possibility. We need to make a decision in this country. Do we prefer a government that wants its hand in your pockets, its foot on your neck, it's telling you what to do and sending you emergency alerts at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday when all the wildfires are going? Or do you want a government that actually says, look, you go and make money, you go and do the best you can, we'll lead you to it?
Yeah,
That's
and we're going to do our duty. You pay for us to look after you and protect the country's security, democracy, frontiers, a lot of it. OK, what are your thoughts on this? 0344 499 1000 is the number to WhatsApp. 87222 is the number if you'd like to send us a text message. Write the word talk before you send a text. We're taking a short break. But we're back, joined by the wonderful Steve N. Allen, just after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I can still hear it in my head, that weird noise. I think my first one was I was out with some friends having some drinks in central London at a bar and a hotel yesterday afternoon. And all of a sudden, the noise, there's chirping. There's,
Yeah.
What even is that noise? Not chirping. It's
Oh,
sort of
there
like,
it is. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Quick, grab your phones. Warning, it's warm. It's hot out
I
there.
don't like it. It's harrowing, that noise.
Is that an alert to say that Alex Phillips and I are going to have fun for the next few hours? Is that the warning for everybody? Watch out, chaos is about to ensue.
Well, of course.
Good.
I mean, I think every time
That's
I
why
walk
people
into
are
a
here.
room, that noise should go off. There should be an early warning Alex system. I mean, I think it first went off at around 5, 6 o'clock. I don't know what time. I wasn't really looking at the time. I was having a nice conversation. And I was like, what? Why? I'm in zone 1. I'm in the middle of Mayfair. There aren't wildfires here, my friends. Tell you that much. But then I swear it kept going off.
Yeah, I got it 3 times.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. Should we speak to Steve N. Allen
go,
and
sir.
see if he is psychologically traumatised by that noise? Hey, Steve. Play the noise, and I want to see how he reacts.
I'm fine with it. Oh, yep, still gets me.
Yes. How many times did you get it last night? Mind
Well.
the pun.
Let me. It's not the first time you've asked that, Alex. I was doing a stand-up comedy gig in London last night, so I got the alert whilst waiting for a train on the way in, right? And everyone else around me got it. And then I heard it go off again when I was on the train. I got on stage by about 8 o'clock. And here's the thing, because it didn't all happen at once, did it? it kept going off. Everyone in the audience in small pockets kept getting it. I've been heckled by the government. That's never happened before. I'm trying to get through a joke. Going off. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And when it first went off, I didn't realise that it was about it being warm. I thought that's the sound we get when you've got 3 minutes before the bomb lands. I'm saying goodbye to my kids on the phone. I'm kissing strangers. Turns out it's just been a bit warm. Try not to barbecue. That's what the message was. Thoroughly. And it's just like, firstly, you were in Mayfair. Well done for getting reception in Mayfair. You're not on the 3 network. We know that much, don't we? But the fact that, I was nowhere near. I'd only just got out of the shower and got to the train. I couldn't have started a fire if I'd have tried. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure why we needed it. There's that joke about a meeting should have been an email. That should have been an email rather than a national alert.
It shouldn't have been an anything. And the problem is it's already boyhood quite wolf. Because I can tell you one thing. In Mayfair, when that alarm went off, everyone just ignored it. Everyone just went, huh? And then by the time it was the third, fourth, fifth, it was like, oh, never mind. So when actually, Putin is pointing some sort of, whatever his evil named nuclear warhead is, straight into the heart of London, and that noise goes off for real, everyone's just going to be like, meh.
Yeah. He won't need to point that kind of thing at us. All he needs to do is smuggle in disposable barbecues, because apparently they are our kryptonite now. So much so that government alerts go off about it. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's the wrong use of the system, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's meant to be the top level, you better start, kissing your backside goodbye kind of alert. Not just try not to set fire to things. In general, try not to set fire to things. Do you know what I mean? It's good advice. We know it's been warm recently. I don't know why we needed the sound. The system should have a lower level one, like, rather than,
Actually, this is one thing that I feel really emblematically represented useless Britain, clown Britain, was the solar eclipse. I loved that solar eclipse. I was very excited about the solar eclipse. And what we had, no one talked up the solar eclipse. We couldn't be bothered. No one was interested, apart from me. I've been counting down the days because I'm a hippie, weird, pagan type who lives in the West Country. So I really wanted this thing to happen. But no one else was really interested because, why would, almost a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle, celestial spectacle be of any interest to us? Nah, I can't be bothered getting off TikTok for a moment. Andy Burnham's just rating a sausage roll. Better watch that instead. But I assumed that, given it was a once-in-a-lifetime celestial spectacle, that I would just be able to walk around to the newsagents and all the newspapers would have those little cardboard glasses on them and stuff like that. But no. Instead of that, all we had for the entire morning was being lectured to not look at the sun. I think there's an instant reflex for that. It's called blinking. I was like, I think I know that I can't look directly at the sun. I've not been able to do that for all of my life. And if you don't want me to look directly at the sun, but you do want me to now finally pay attention to a solar eclipse, give me my glasses.
Yeah, I ended up doing it by, you can put sunglasses in front of a phone and then look at it on your phone camera. I was doing that and then I realised I could also just use my phone to Google pictures of eclipses. We're just one step away from reality these days, aren't we?
That's what's so sad. We discovered, me and my neighbours in the fields opposite my house, that we could, share each other's glasses, so we stacked about 5 and would take it in turns. But I don't know, I feel like if it was the 1999 solar eclipse, Kellogg's would have the free solar glasses on the front of, box of cornflakes. The Sun newspaper, great name, only a few floors below. Didn't want to capitalise on it? Sell a few extra papers? No.
I think that is, though. I think, because I remember the one back in the 90s. I was at school, and it was like a big deal, and you made the various ways, like looking at it in a bucket, reflecting on the water. That was one way that you could do it, and the pinhole camera thing. Back then, I think, you could have given away sunglasses and you'd enjoy the eclipse. It's 2026. Some absolute prize idiot would have put them on the wrong way or something and then sued the newspaper. That's the world we live in now, isn't it? Like, oh, you didn't thoroughly tell me not to eat these and then stare at it, and now I can't see. So I don't blame them for not wanting to get into these kind of court case things. The fact that there are some people in the newspapers the next day in A&E because they looked at the sun and it hurt. It's your own stupid fault, isn't it? I like the fact that that was the day of the by-election. I hope they printed the ballot paper really faintly, because if you're the kind of idiot who doesn't know not to stare at the sun, maybe your vote shouldn't be included in universal suffrage.
That's just Darwinism. But I feel like we've definitely lost joy. Do you know what I mean? I always feel this about Britain. Once upon a time, we were excited about events and spectacles and, oh, look, it's the King's birthday. Let's get out a load of trestle tables and make some egg mayo sandwiches. And now we're so miserable. Nothing cheers us up. We don't want to celebrate that. And like you said, oh, well, I don't need to. There's a few of them who stayed behind at the pub. Most of the village came out to the fields. About 50% stayed at the pub. And I was like, why don't you come into the field, solar eclipse? And they're like, and I'm like, what? Why don't you want to go and, like, what's going on? Why is everyone so blimmin' sad?
I think it is like the modern ennui, isn't it? We just have that kind of misery. And it's traditional nostalgia of thinking the one in the 90s was better, but it actually was. I remember there was a sense of community of, we all observing the same thing at the same time. But the same was true of Russ Abbott's Madhouse, whatever it was called. People used to watch things all at the same time. We had a sense of shared moment. But now everyone does stuff on catch-up. We're dispersed into little fragments to enjoy things. So you don't really get a way of sharing it unless it's on social media, which is barely existing. It's not reality. Plus also on social media, if you share joy, you're not going to get any interaction. Or if you share anger and some kind of miserable vibe, then that's the stuff that gets promoted. Slowly but surely, you're right. We're living in an economy of misery. And some people are really wealthy.
See, that ties into what I'm saying earlier. I now think there are whole new mental health conditions which are environmentally induced by social media lifestyles. I've categorised it into sort of type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, well, you've got a personality disorder. Type 2 diabetes, get off social media. It's like, that's why you've gone mad, because all you do is look at that rot.
Yeah, I've been really lucky for the fact that I never had the urge to interact on social media that way. I know some people, they're on the Instagram and they spend all their time trying to make their life look really good for that one picture to post. But then they look at other people's pictures and go, oh, why am I not as good as them? You've just been given the answer. Look at the work you put into faking the positive existence you have for one frame. That's not your life. So, of course, it's not the life of everyone else. But I suppose there's a natural urge to compare yourself to others. I don't really have that as much. Maybe that's my particular mental illness, is that I just don't have the urge to compete with people in society. Good luck to you. But other people do, don't they? They see people living their best life on social media and they feel sad that they're not having it as good. Firstly, there's the top trumps rule. You'll always find something else, some other metric that someone's doing better than you at. And if you live your life trying to be the best at everything, you simply won't. You will feel like a failure in your own life. So, don't fall for how it works. That's the best advice I've got that no one will ever take.
Well, I take it. I live by that, my friend. I'm glad I sort of brought up in an era before social media. I said, you weren't, were you, Matthew Goodwin Freeman?
No,
that's what I'm going to do now.
I've grown up with it and enjoyed the pains of it.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, to continue with the negative. No, I love it. Look, social media is one of those things. Maybe we should put an emergency warning out about social media. That would be a better thing.
If I had an emergency warning on X every time someone puts a horrible meme or a lie about me on there, it would just be one constant tone. Oh, Steve, thank you ever so much. It's always lovely catching up with you. The wonderful Steve N. Allen. Right, we've got to take a break, and then after that, Matthew Goodwin Freeman and I will be back talking about, well, it's a subject it's a gift that keeps on giving some way or another, a nightmare that keeps on going, the interminable crisis of illegal migration. We are going to be discussing the fact that Andy Burnham, running around the high streets trying to do his sort of post-coup campaign, desperate to be popular, making TikTok videos. Well, here's a tip, Mr. Burnham. Don't tell the country you're going to put illegal migrants into every last village and town. They're not going to like it. We're discussing that after this.
He didn't need to call that by-election, and he spent the entire summer fighting a bin who got nearly 10,000 votes. The winner, I suspect, actually is Clacton, because the Count Bin-Face stuff went all over the world, and there are many people around the world, especially in the States, that are looking at Clacton and saying, rather nice. You know, maybe we'll go there on holiday next year. Clacton actually looked rather nice in the sunshine, and Clacton itself is the gainer. Farage made a complete fool of himself. He treated his constituents with total contempt. He didn't even bother to turn up to the count.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
He's a free man. She's a free girl. And they're giving old Lefty's hell.
Oh, wow. That was it. I love that.
Can you send me that clip so I can make that a ringtone for me?
Apparently. There you go.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Don't want to. Tech Up will sort that out.
Thank you, guys.
He will mocker it.
That could be my emergency alarm.
But during the break, we were actually trying to write limericks because I've now decided, because, you know, I like a bit of, I like scansion, OK? Scansion. I like scansion. I studied the poetic form.
Oh,
it was called the diachronic development of the sonnet,
right.
was my thesis. And I like a bit of scansion, which is the rhythm in things, which is why you now have to be called Matthew Goodwin Freeman. And it just lends itself to some sort of poem, doesn't it? Matthew Goodwin Freeman had no party he could believe in. Full of hate.
I've got Matthew Goodwin Freeman, a politician we could believe in.
OK.
Dressed in flags. I'm trying to then work out the next bit. We'll get there. We'll get there.
There you go. Feel free to send us your Matthew Goodwin Freeman poems and more jingles and limericks. Because unfortunately today, it's one of those days, sometimes you wake up on a weekend and it's like everything's happened. Oh my goodness, we've got so much to cover. How are we going to get all this? You know, Faith is going crazy, smoke coming out of her ears, booking guests left, right and centre. And other times you look through all the papers and you go,
we'll just have Matthew on.
Oh yeah, that was what we spoke about yesterday.
Yep.
So here we are. And what we speak about every day. So here we are. Let's carry on. Let's speak about what we speak about yesterday and every day and all days. And it's amazing how much time we talk about illegal immigration, and yet somehow, despite the fact that we managed to, I don't know, do D-Day, stop the Spanish Armada, you know, beat Napoleon at Waterloo, despite all of those things, dinghies.
Can't stop
That's an incurable affliction for 21st century Britain. And here we go. Andy Burnham. This is the thing. It seems to me that what successive governments have done is play the game of move the migrant. It's like, we're going to stick them all in hotels. And the public, we don't want those hotels. No hotels in our area, please. OK, we're going to stick them in HMOs. No. Don't want HMOs. Definitely don't want HMOs. They're worse than hotels. OK, we're going to stick them in military bases. Can't have that. You let 1,500 men roam around a village of like 200 people. But there is nowhere to stick these people where people are going to be happy unless it's on a plane back home.
Correct. And that's what, for years now, we've been talking about this. We're still banging £500 million to the French every year to do nothing, it seems, other than get some more croissants and point that way for Britain. Hotels, HMOs. I mean, I came on this show 2.5 years ago and said, if we have to use hotels, treat them like detention centres. Lock the doors, lock the windows, bring the 3 square meals to the door and tell them to eat it, and if they don't eat it, well, tough luck, and treat them like they're prisoners. And the biggest scandal of all of it, which I don't think anyone realised until about a year ago, was the fact that these illegal immigrants could just walk free. They could leave, they could come back, they're not tagged or anything like that. What other country would you have that? Well, we can solve this immediately. We can just, as soon as a boot lands on the sand, you arrest them, you put them into a police van, you take them to one of these... We built Nightingale hospitals, why don't we build Nightingale detention centres, airport hangars, fields, campsites of tents? I don't frankly care. We can detain them, we can process them. Where did you come from? Oh, you won't tell us? Have you got any documents? No, you don't? Right, OK, well, tough luck, you're going. Bring back the Rwanda plan.
Right.
It worked without a single flight taking off. There was a drop in people coming because they thought, I'm not going to be able to stay.
Well, I mean, actually, it's interesting that most of Europe is now looking at third country processing centres.
Germany is using the facilities in Rwanda we paid for.
Why did that not go through? Because your party, the Conservative Party, was so obsessed with playing elections instead of actually, we're going to stay and see this through because this is the biggest crisis facing Britain. They heard... Nigel Farage is coming back. Well, we better call an election right now to try and prevent him. No, stay in government and get the job finished. Yeah. That is your job. That would be your legacy. And do you know what? Do you know what? If Rishi Sunak hadn't called that snap election, if he had stayed to get the job finished, if he had managed to achieve it, the Conservatives would have come back with a resounding majority because people want government, not games.
It's one of the things I've never understood why the election got called, because we were only a few weeks away from a flight taking off, I'm told. So we could have had one flight take off, whatever the legal battles or whatever, and then we could have had a general election saying, right, the courts are stopping us, the ECHR is stopping us, so let's have a general election. Give us the mandate to leave the ECHR, because we've shown you we can get these flights off the ground. But instead, not. Then Labour came in, scrapped the Rwanda plan on day one with no substitute, brought in the one-in, one-out system months later.
Oh,
how's that going?
Smash the gang.
Haven't heard that on a TikTok recently.
Mate.
And then we've got $500 million to the French. They've just agreed more money to the French. I mean, brilliant, that's working well. And it's no longer small boats, it's mega boats.
But also, there seem to be people who are actually willing for this crisis never to end, because the problem now is if you suddenly had reform in power or something and they go, right, we're going to turn back the boats to the French, and Jordan Bardella is the Premier Ministre and goes, yeah, cool, send them back, because we don't want people, you know, coalescing in Calais to try and get to Britain, it would prove that it could have been done all along. And of course it could. This idea that, you know, I was listening to the radio this morning and someone's like, well, you know, if we were going to redefine refugee centres to detention centres, then we'd have to leave this treaty, we'd have to amend that legislation. I'm like, by the way,
do it.
Did you know that that's what a government is supposed to do?
Yep.
That is the point of a government, not to sit there and go, is legislation getting in the way of helping us sort out this crisis? What might we do about legislation getting in the way? And then, you know, the person I was listening to on the radio was like, well, the House of Lords wouldn't like it, the lawyers wouldn't like it, the NGOs wouldn't like it. Well, guess what? There'll always be people out there in the world who don't like a particular government policy. That doesn't mean you just go, oh, well, throw in the towel, let's make some TikTok videos instead. It's just pathetic. Let's see if we can squeeze in a quick call and speak to Glenn in Colchester. Good morning, Glenn.
Very good morning, Alex. Lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you too, my darling. What is on your mind?
A couple of things, really, Alex. I think in terms of the migrant issue, I think, you know, firstly, the government have now admitted that the strategy was to move migrants into poorer areas. And I think that in itself is absolutely despicable. But, and this is the big but, if we are to do this, and if we have to accept people and we have to house them, why are we not offering the indigenous people of these poorer areas the opportunity to move out into some of our middle-class areas? Let's give our own people the opportunity and a step up, you know, to move into something more, you know, something with maybe more prospects for them, and allow those incoming migrants to move into those poorer areas. And let's be fair, let's be frank, if these are quality people, they are going to then be able to grow those areas and make those areas more prosperous.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, Glenn.
It is a lot of heavy lifting. However, you know, we've got a lot of our own people sitting on the back, you know, sitting there going nowhere. Yes, it's heavy lifting, but we've got to come up with better strategies and something that makes our people accept, you know, the situation we're in.
Well, this is the thing. I don't think our people can accept a situation where anybody from anywhere can turn up and demand to live here and demand to be treated the same level, if not better, than the indigenous population. That is not how the concept of a nation-state works, unfortunately. But, you know, like I said, I get the impression now that there's almost a fetishisation of the migrant crisis. There is, without a doubt, an illegal immigration industrial... what am I looking for? Industrial...
what, strategy machine, complex world. They're just
complex.
profiteering.
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Digging around. Anyway, Glenn, thank you ever so much for your call. We are going to be discussing this, well, story for the rest of our lives probably, but definitely after the next advert break when we're going to be joined by Ben Habib. Remember, if you want to get in touch with the programme, 0344 499 1000 is the number for WhatsApp. 8722 is the number to send a text message. Write the word talk before you text. Put the kettle on. We're going to be back just after this. Matthew, Goodwin Freeman and I.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Somewhere over the rainbow, you'll see Alex and Matt doing the daily news because of Burnham, the silly prat.
It's a good thing you ended with that word.
No, there was a moment where you're like, where are we going to go with this? But, you know, there is a filter between us and Ofcom. He's called Take Up.
Thank goodness.
And he clearly had listened in advance and ingested it into the system and decided that it was perfectly PG-friendly. So there we go. I quite liked that.
That's
it was
nice.
a serene little...
It'll be the new intro. It was lovely. It was just, sorry, Peter Barnes. Just, you know...
I still want a musical instrument, though. I either want...
Who's got a recorder? Come on,
got a recorder,
dig out the recorder.
Panpipes. Ooh, harmonica.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, you know, whack a saucepan. Come on, I think we can, like... it's like COVID again.
No.
It's clap for Matt. And also, I need the Matthew Goodwin Freeman went to see an able seaman.
Oh, God.
Got in his boat, but found it was a moat.
You're going to have to work in some sort of small boats joke there as well.
I know. It's... Freeman is a difficult word to rhyme.
Oh, blame my dad. Sorry.
Yeah. But still, if you have a Matthew Goodwin Freeman poem, we're struggling. Every advert break, we're trying to write something, and it's proving difficult. We need your help. And also, I have a feeling that Donald Trump secretly does a show here after hours, because I was just rumbling around with my papers like this, and I was like, ooh, look at this makeup. You know, which is a girl. It's like, whoa, who's left something on the desk? And I opened it up, and I'm like, what, David Dickinson? That can't be Peter Cardwell. He's like a shade of grey. Whose is this? I don't know. Oh, Tech Up says it was there when he arrived this morning. Again, proof that either Donald Trump or David Dickinson have a secret after-hours show in this here studio. There you go.
There's going to be photos now of, like, a presenter up against that makeup now to try and find...
Yeah. Oh, who
split
could be
screen,
this orange?
go through them all.
That's right. David Bull? I know David Bull's not orange, but he's the sort of man with makeup because, you know, the girls are basically me and Julia, isn't it? And I don't leave my makeup laying around.
Could it be Kev?
Nah, Kev putting makeup on? Nah,
makeup gets put on him, I think.
Reluctantly. You know, it's almost like, you know, pinning a cat down and trying to give it a tablet. You know, sort of you have to strap Kev into something that looks akin to an electric chair, and then the whole system, like a car wash, passes over him like this. But no, I don't know.
Oh, dear.
There you go. Do you want a present?
I'm all right, thank you.
Okay.
I don't think it's my shade. I don't know.
I don't think it's anyone's shade. That's the point. I mean, it's called dark.
Well, that's just racist. How dare
Yeah,
you?
I don't know. It feels like it's sort of Meghan Markle and the royal family all over again. You know what? Whose is this colour?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Anyways,
happy Saturday, everyone.
Happy Saturday. Right, let's do a couple of messages before we speak to Ben Habib. Matthew, I love you, says Nick in Loughborough.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
But on this, you're deluded. The Tories were done for, regardless of what they might have achieved in the last 6 months of office. Johnson and his team wrecked the nation with net zero and cowardly lockdowns, the very reasons this nation is bankrupt. We'll never forgive them.
Well, we've got to get rid of the net zero stuff, which we've promised, and we were all listening to the scientists during COVID, which we all now realise was a mistake. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but fair points.
Someone's just messaged Alex, you can opt out of government alerts. Can you? Yeah, I don't know. And they said I did so as soon as they were introduced, so no panic induced for us yesterday. What is the point of a government-mandated warning system if you can just switch it off? Because everyone will now. Everyone's going to do that, because I've just looked at what it was yesterday, because I couldn't be bothered. As soon as I heard it going off, I knew already it was some nanny state nonsense. I knew it was a waste of my time paying attention to it without even reading what it said. It actually said there's a very high risk of wildfires nationally. Residents, landowners and visitors,
including those on small boats.
Why don't we just go people? Should not undertake any activity that could start a fire. Right. So let's think of all the activities. You know, maybe a spark could come out of your hairdryer, catch a bit of toilet roll, float through an open window onto your lawn. There you go. Can't use electrical goods. I mean, so basically, including disposable barbecues, fire pits, garden incinerators or fireworks, even a small flame can rapidly develop into a major wildfire, placing lives, homes, businesses and emergency responders at risk.
Now do that in the Welsh version. Go on, because the people in Wales got the Welsh translation one first, and then 4 minutes later got the English version.
But you don't know what vowels are. Don't start a fire. There you go. I love Wales, by the way. I don't know what that was. My accents really aren't worthy of a repetition.
The thing is, it's the levels, right? That was not an emergency alert. That was like an informative one, but it shouldn't have been an emergency one.
This is what I'm worried about now.
And if it gets abused for those sorts of things, we're all going to turn it off.
I just feel like what's going to happen once they've sort of rolled out digital ID, all of the facial surveillance, the government alerts. I'll be waking up one morning, brushing my teeth. I'll open the front door, and I'll be, you know, about to stand on a snail. You know, Derek will be, you know, at the pub thinking, oh, I've had 3 pints of Guinness. I could really do with a cheeky tab. He'll open his, you know, jeans pocket, pull out the packet of cigarettes as soon as the tip rests upon his lip.
Yeah, warning.
It's evil. That emergency alert noise sounds like a school kid trying to play the recorder about as soothing as nails scraping down a chalkboard. If they're sending us government-issued warnings about barbecues, heaven forfend, it's going to be going off all the time, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. It's got to be the standard. There's got to be a high bar for sending an emergency.
You know, look left when you cross the road.
Yeah, it's raining today. Bring an umbrella.
Don't play on the train tracks.
You didn't brush your teeth for 3 minutes, all that sort of stuff.
You just thought a hate crime. Honestly, like, what is this?
Oh, dear.
Let's speak now to Ben Habib. Good morning, Ben. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm trying to catch up with the bouncy nature of your program. I'm trying to imagine whether I can get into the upbeat frame of mind that you and Matthew are in.
Well, why? Are you living in sort of post-alarm sound trauma? Have you got post-alarm sound trauma disorder?
No, I haven't. It's normally when you're making jokes, when I'm listening into a program before I come on, I have sort of retorts in my head, and I didn't have a single retort. You guys were so quick. You were leaving me far behind, and I think I'm not going to catch up with these two.
What I know, what the whole nation wants to know is how many times did you get it last night?
I didn't get it once, thankfully. I don't know. Perhaps the government struck me off. Having listened to my views, they thought he's not worthy of an emergency alert. We'll just let him burn in his own barbecue.
Or perhaps this is DEI at work, and telling you that you can't have a fire pit could be construed as racist.
Because that would be my normal cultural disposition, to go out the back and make a...
Well, that's it. You know, Ben, I've told you repeatedly, please turn off your tandoor oven. It's hot. You can't do that in this country. First of all, coals are dirty fuels, and you could have a spark which sets the whole of Fulham on fire. So please, Ben, leave the tandoor alone.
But it is extraordinary. Just on that point, you probably want to talk about other things, but I was reading an article that actually one of the reasons we've got all these wildfires reoccurring is because of government policy on rewilding.
Yes.
Instead of burning gorse, which typically happens in April and May, to get rid of anything that might burn in summer, they've been doing the opposite, encouraging growth of foliage, which will therefore burn when it gets very hot.
No, this is exactly it. It's the same as when we had mass flooding. Guess what? They hadn't dredged the rivers because all creatures. And now we've got wildfires, which actually, by the way, are fewer in proportion and scale. The lowest since 2012. Doesn't fit the, mad climate narrative, though. But the reason we've actually got them is because, well, we can't get the scrub and the brush off the forest floor because shield bugs or something like that. And it's like, well, there's no shield bugs now, are there? They've been incinerated. They're all gone. There you go. You've really helped the little creepy crawlies and little bugs out, haven't you, with your mad antics? It's the same as when we had all the flooding in Valencia in Spain, and they're like, no, nothing to see here about removing all the dams between the mountain tops and the valley below. No, that was nothing to do with it. Well, of course it is. It's amazing how much green policy seems to be the wreck and ruin of the entire ecosystem. But there you are. Right. Let us talk politics, shall we? I want to talk to you about the fact that the Tories have been running off to the right-wing newspapers. Salivating, are they, at the prospect of another Clacton by-election? If they loved it so much, they should have got involved in the first one. That was my thought, but there you go. But they really want to get involved in the second one, which they've already decided is inevitable and is going to take place. I mean, there you go. That sort of fait accompli attitude is certainly no reason why the general public increasingly distrust politics, politicians and political bodies. But they said that Labour should stand aside if there's a second by-election in Clacton. The thing is, Ben, all I get with all of this, the coups, the plots, the, pacts, the dealings, that you've got to stand aside, it's making me feel like it's 2019 again, son. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think you're right. And one of the points made by Peter Barnes, who was on your programme a couple of weeks ago, just again before I was waiting to come on, and he made a very powerful point to you, Alex. I don't know if you remember that political parties actually the ruin of politics. And, I think it's pertinent because all these pacts, all this political shenanigans comes from the fact that we have political parties. And it would be much better, actually, if MPs all came from their local constituencies, represented their constituency interests, came into Parliament, and then through a collective form of debate, one individual emerged with a set of people who broadly shared his views to create a government, instead of having all these factions scrapping at the edges for, party progression. And certainly, most recently, it has undermined our parliamentary democracy by parties habitually getting effectively under par candidates coming forward because they know they're going to be good party animals. Not because they're going to be good MPs or good in government, good ministers, good secretaries of state, they've got expertise that can contribute, but because they know they're good party animals. They'll toe the party line. So I think party politics, which is a fundamental part of what you've just been describing, has been very damaging for this country, particularly recently.
I totally agree, actually. That's it. Up the revolution. I'm joining Ben Habib in getting rid of party politics altogether, because it has just become the gamification of politics rather than governance. We just don't govern anymore. And the media are in on it. You know, I keep moaning about there being an illegal immigration industrial complex. There is, of course, a political industrial complex as well. Political consultants, spin doctors, you know, all the people who work in the social media team, now in the creche of the North with Andy Burnham, his Fuzzy Felts and his Comic Sans manifesto. And I just feel like I'm so fed up when we've got such massive crises facing the country. And again, equally, politicians don't say, how do we solve the problem?
No.
What do we need to do? They say, how can we deal with this and pull the wool over people's eyes so people will, you know, like us as much as possible? And
well, that's what you end up doing.
Yes.
You end up playing the 24-hour news cycle for the promotion of yourself and for the dragging down of your opponents, which again comes out of party politics, doesn't it?
Right.
Because if you were all individuals batting for your constituents in the country, all that you'd be interested in is your constituents in the country.
That must have been how it worked right back at the beginning of time, I feel. Like someone somewhere, when they came up with, you know, returning people from the shires to sit in the Commons, and then they started to collect into organisations, and then now we've got the whole gamification of the entire system. Like everything else in the world, everything is gamified. But what do you think about this whole idea of basically trying to... Burnham's decided that the fairest thing to do is move more migrants to middle-class areas. Now, the reason this hasn't been done before is not so much about whiteism. It's more that middle-class areas don't have much spare property, because everyone wants to live in them. And the properties that are there, because there's a high demand, are really expensive. And equally, can I just say, it to me makes more sense. I mean, we shouldn't have people staying here anyway, and I would happily just, you know, keep the chicken wire fences around disused army bases fully secured so people can't leave the site. But there you go. But if they are to, you know, say if they've been granted residency or whatever, I just think they would be better assimilated into the areas that have already got very high levels of immigration. They'll have their groceries, they'll have their, you know, people who speak their language. The idea that you can take, you know, Abdul from Eritrea and stick him in the middle of Chipping Sodbury and say, there you go, son, you're going to love it round here, aren't you? And the people of Chipping Sodbury are like, yeah, brilliant, cool, you know, come and help us with the harvest this autumn. It's just mad.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole thing is mad, though, isn't it? And again, he's playing party politics. He's playing the class war using illegal migrants. And it's almost gaslighting the electorate, because what he's saying, effectively, the presumption behind what he's saying is illegal migration is here to stay. Illegal migrants are going to continue coming to the United Kingdom. And therefore, it is only fair that those who are middle class and upper class, or however which way you want to define them, take their fair share of those illegal migrants that are inevitably going to be coming to this country. And if you don't like it, well, bad luck. You're probably a Tory voter. You're probably a Reform voter. Just lump it. We're not going to be lumping these people. We're not going to be putting these illegal migrants, any more of these illegal migrants, into our constituencies. And what they're fundamentally failing to recognise, which is where you started with your question, is that none of these people should be in the country in the first place. Right. They should be, and if they do get into the country, they should be detained. They should be put into secure facilities, and then they should be deported as fast as possible. There's no reason at all for the United Kingdom to have a single illegal migrant here. There should be no presumption in their favour. They've broken into the country. They should be expelled from the country. Any other mechanism with which to deal with illegal migration is giving succor to those who break into a country and those who would wish to practice that trade.
I totally agree. I mean, I just feel like at the moment, this whole crisis is now being used as political point scoring. It's like they're playing paintball. Oh, let's fire a load of illegal immigrants into your constituency. It's like, no, this isn't a game. These people are potentially terrorists. They're fugitives. We don't know who they are.
Absolutely, they should all go.
Yes, it is absolutely, to me, when I say farcical and risible, it's perilous. It is deeply, deeply dangerous. And I've never understood, Ben, what is the mechanism here? Because if we were to secure people within army bases, for instance, we would have to change, I believe legally, certain treaties or certain designations that these are now detention centres, and then change the whole concept that, you know, someone appeals, when they come in and has appealed for refugee status, they cannot be instantly detained. We're going to have to leave that treaty. Well, let's do it. Well, the thing I find the craziest part is government sitting and going, well, you know, because of international law. And I say the whole time, but Starmer, mate, you are an international lawyer. It's a bit like a surgeon going, this person might need a heart transplant. That's going to require surgery. I'm a surgeon. This requires surgery. Well, they might just have to die then. You know, it's that's your job.
Yeah, it is madness. And I think the innocent explanation for what's happened is that the institutions that were set up in a post-World War II environment to make sure that proud, belligerent nation states didn't go to war again, such as the UN, the formative period for the European Union, the European Court of Human Rights, and so on. These organizations all started with good intention, but they've become way too powerful, and they've become way too interfering in the nation states that they were meant to be guiding. And effectively, through this globalization, the notion of a nation state itself has been undermined. Again, I heard you talking about it before I came on. You know, you're talking about how can you have a nation state if you don't have a common culture? Broadly, I think is what you were saying, Alex. And that is what they've done. They've removed the concept of a nation state. They've become so big, these organisms themselves, these supranational organizations, that they've removed the concept of nationhood. They see nationhood as evil. And the minute you remove the concept of nationhood, it becomes impossible to police your borders. It becomes impossible to put British interests first. It becomes impossible to put British people's interests first. And you end up with these crazy situations where illegal migrants are given preferable treatment to British citizens.
Ben was on the remix then, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a bit of Eminem just chucked in there for Saturday morning. And you know, and criminals get the protective blanket of the state, because all this undermines effectively our ability to think straight. And so, yes, we have to get out of the European Court of Human Rights. We have to, therefore, repeal the Human Rights Act, get rid of the Equalities Act. But beyond that, if we're to be effective, we must terminate the treaty that Boris Johnson signed with the European Union, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement and the Withdrawal Agreement, because they undermine our ability to govern ourselves. We're going to have to tell the Republic of Ireland to sod off on the Good Friday Agreement because they want us to abide by the ECHR, and so on and so forth. It requires the United Kingdom actually to develop a very strong political backbone, a backbone that our forefathers had in spades, but we have completely lost. Yeah. And that's what we need, a proud, independent, prosperous United Kingdom, unashamed to do and say, to say and do what's required for us, not for anyone else, for us, for our country. And there should be no concern expressed by anyone if we behave that way. They should understand and respect it. That's what we need to do. Internationalism, globalism has had its day. It's got to be ejected, and we've got to go back to being proud, independent states.
There we go. Let's do it. Well, did you not like that speech?
No, I'm rousing. I've got a tear in my dry eye.
I thought you did.
It was very good. I was imagining it. I was like, that would be lovely.
I'm surprised.
And then I came back to reality and thought, well, that's never going to happen.
Well, because we're a bunch of protoplasmic, amoebic
invertebrate jellies. I think you were supposed to say that.
That's the one I was going. That's Boris Johnson's line. Isn't it?
Look, that would be a dream future for this country. But Ben's right. We need a shake-up. We need to seriously shake things up. And that's where maybe this party-state stuff has to have a conversation. We either need a right-wing government that's actually going to deal with this, whatever colour shade of blue it's going to end up being, or we've got this dreadful left-wing, globalist-loving, cares about every other country apart from our own, it seems, future. That's the choice for this country now.
That is the choice. That's the choice. It's not a left-wing, right-wing thing. It's, do you want this country, or do you want this country and democracy to end and for us to hand over power to some supranational, unelected bureaucrats? That's the choice we face. And I'm afraid over decades we've been choosing the wrong option.
We've been choosing the wrong option. And even when we have chosen the right option, they don't let us have it. That's the problem. Ben, thank you ever so much. It's always wonderful to catch up with you. And like I said, you mind your Tandor, my friend. Right, OK, let's do some messages, shall we? Don't you think that all politicians from all the main parties are just wasting time? What are they waiting for? I've never known such dilly-dallying from politicians in my life, says Leslie in Rugby. Well, this is the thing that, like Burnham, oh, yeah, just finished my coup, going to go make some TikTok, chill out on my sun lounger, might detour the high streets. It's like, do you live in the real world, lad?
I've said ever since Labour got into government in 2024, they have the largest democratic majority in this country, in Parliament, for generations. Use it. They could change this country for the better overnight if they wanted to, but they're not. They could recall Parliament right now and get on with some of these issues, but they're not.
I've just realised something.
Oh, God.
Oh. So, Claire in Buckley in North Wales, our Claire, she's a regular. She loves a bit of Saturdays and Sundays. Loving the show as usual. Nice to see Matthew Goodwin Freeman this morning. She just said Matt, but we know that's not your name now. I got that stupid alert 4 times, twice in Welsh. Then someone somewhere must have thought, wait a minute, not everyone in Wales speaks Welsh, so sent it again, twice in English. I laughed when I could actually read what it was for. This is what's just occurred to me. Multiculti, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multilingual Britain. Is it going to now be like, in Bangladeshi, in Malayalam, in Mandarin, in, you know, Amharic.
I'm surprised there wasn't just a show translation or a translate into another language button. Like, I don't understand why it was.
I know how we get rid of this alert. I know how we stop this stuff right now. The alert is racist. The alert is racist. The alert is not inclusive. The alert is not diverse. Hey, that will see it off.
Got to cancel
right,
it.
There you go.
Cancel the alert.
Cancel the. It's time to cancel it. It's racist.
Cancel
it's
culture,
non-inclusive. It others people.
Yeah.
The alert others people.
It's trying to divide us.
It's trying to divide us. Yeah. Right. On that note, let's take a short break, and after that, let's have a chat, shall we? Let's get some callers. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call if you want to speak to Matthew Goodwin Freeman and I. It is your normal network rate. You can of course use that number as well to send a WhatsApp message. 87222 is the number to send a text. Write the word talk before you write your message. The alert is racist. The alert is racist. We're back after this.
Demonstrate to the public that you are doing everything.
But the key thing here, as you say, he's the Prime Minister. He has the power, as did previous Prime Ministers, to do things like build more prisons and failed to do so. This has been the first real test of Anti-Burnham, where I'm going to please everybody. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Dan Hodges thinks I'm great. And then he's failed it at the first attempt.
I don't think he's
I've been reading your columns, Dan.
Hodges,
I mean, come on. You think the sun shines out of his backside.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There once was a PM called Andy. He was as strong as a half pint of shandy. He didn't know what to do, so we banned the barbecue, and now he's got no hopes that there's no links to Mandy.
Well, there we go. I loved it. Thank you, Peter Cardwell. Thank you. No, I'm joking. Oh, that was actually Stuart, wasn't our very own Cardi P.
That was really good.
No, do you know one thing I love about a voice note? You get all the accents, the beautiful accents of our fair isles.
The wonderful audience, the beautiful talk audience from across the great nations that we are. Love it.
I remember one day, you know, I think if Barnsley and I were sitting here and I put out into the ether, like, where are you from? Where are you listening from? Bing, 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 bing. We've got audiences around the world. It'll start happening again now. There'll be people.
Go on, where are you from? Give us your best songs in accents. Come on.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And again, can I just say, how many more times do I have to appeal for musical instruments?
There has still not been a recorder. There's not been an elastic band on a cereal box or something.
Is it that easy?
I love it. Well
yeah, come on. Get your act
making
together.
The talk band.
Well, what I want is a sort of Jive Bunny mega mix by the end of it.
Oh, God.
You know, I want Tech Up to be sitting there like he's like Fatboy Slim. Just, you know, on those buttons, trying to put it all together.
I'm going to have new ringtones for everybody by the end of this. Like, all of these voice notes.
Have you done it?
No, I'm doing it now. I'm going to make that the Matthew and the Lefties one. I'm going to turn that into a ringtone, so don't worry.
That. There you go. Your efforts are not wasted. You're
having an impact,
everyone. Right, let's do a call. Let's speak to Joe, who's in Brighton. Good morning, Joe.
Hi, Alex. I finally get to speak to you. It's a pleasure.
Oh, pleasure's all mine.
Most things you say. First of all, I want to bring to your attention, Nigel Farage said that the Rwanda scheme would fail. So he didn't agree with it either. And number two, Keir Starmer wasn't a team player, nor was Nigel Farage, because Susan Evans and tons of people from UKIP say he's not good with listening to other people's opinions. The other thing, calling people nobodies, I think that's how he thinks about his working class audience. He doesn't go to 10 regeneration meetings in Clacton about regenerating Clacton, the same way he never went to farmers and farmers and fishery meetings in the EU Parliament. And there's videos of talking how you can get £1 million from the EU Parliament's expenses. So I just think reform is the front of extreme Tories, like Margaret Thatcher listened to Sir Alan, who was an Anglo-English industrialist. I just think they're there to take commission from companies who want to buy up all our public sector. And like in Bournemouth, they failed having a private contract. They bought it in-house. And that happened across many English councils where they gave it out to Tory service providers, and they made a failure of handling councillor services. And his opinion on the healthcare, people just need to watch Michael Moore's Sicko to see what happens when you run out of healthcare insurance. And most countries in the EU who have private healthcare, if you look who's behind it, most of them are American companies who own those companies in Belgium and France and all that. So at the end of the day, I don't think reform represents working class people.
Interesting. I can tell that Joe can't wait to go and vote for his local reform candidate. But no, interesting. It's always interesting to get a completely different perspective. There's a lot there to unpack. Let's first of all work through where we're talking about Nigel Farage's personality. He's not here to defend himself. I'll do it for him because I've known him for 20 years and he's a very dear friend of mine. And he's actually a really lovely person who loves people. Most politicians really don't like it. He's in his element when he's out there meeting people. What he doesn't particularly like are sort of long-winded meetings and stuffiness. He actually is, I would say, at his best and gets most of his energy from meeting people, and he actually truly enjoys that. Now, in terms of, there was so much in there. There was sort of privatisation and corporate companies and misuse of council money. I think that, if you were to... one thing I think desperately that needs to be done, and we can talk about this after the call, actually, Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, which is, I think that most of our councils desperately need to be fraud audited. I think they need to be audited for waste. There needs to, without a doubt, be a doging because there is far too much money being spent on nonsense. But equally, I think if we were to bring in sort of fraud investigators and look at some of the contracts and of councils of all shades, can I just say, whether they're Lib Dem councils, whether they're Labour councils, whether they are independently run councils, whether they're Tory councils, reform councils, I think that for a long time there's been a lot of backhanders done. I think the majority of, if you want to use a strong word, corruption in politics probably happens at the local level. You know, oh, I'm going to give my mate the contract to take a disabled child to and from school every day, and it's going to be worth £5 million. Well, guess what? That probably didn't cost £5 million, that service. I think there's a lot of concerns there, but I don't necessarily blame it on capitalism or socialism. I think I just blame it on dodgy individuals who are in positions of influence who use that leverage to fill their back pockets, and it happens all over the world. And without doubt, it happens in the United Kingdom. I would suggest probably increasingly so. Now we have certain councils which are dominated by people who have come from countries where those practices are more endemic. Then we went on to health insurance, didn't we? We've got a scandalised system here. One of the reasons a couple of quarters ago our economy actually had a small uptick in growth is because of private medical insurance, because the NHS is in such crisis that is naturally one of the growth areas in the economy. But now private medical insurance, even for someone with a massive salary, is becoming deeply unaffordable. The premiums have gone up enormously. But then we talked about the European insurance-based healthcare system, which is very different to the American one, which you alluded to when you talked about Michael Moore-Sicko. I would say the European sort of hybrid insurance healthcare system works very, very well. There are problems in certain countries where they haven't made enough provision, hospital beds compared to the number of elderly. Italy has similar problems with an ageing population as we do, which was very much exposed at the start of COVID. But as somebody who did live on the European continent, who did have mandatory health insurance as part of my employment contract in Brussels, it worked beautifully. And a bit like London, big city Brussels, nobody says hello to each other. No one sort of, you know, if you sit on the metro, on the bus, or, you know, typical, you could hear a pin drop. Except if you happen to have your leg in a full-blown plaster cast, as I discovered. Hop down the street in Belgium on some crutches, people are crossing the roads. Are you OK? What happened? Which hospital did you go to? Oh, I went to such and such, really good there. The food was great, had my own room. Yep, the paperwork was quick and easy, didn't have to wait, super consultant. Great, great, right, keep that in mind. Because it genuinely is word of mouth. When I broke my ankle in Belgium, I had a Finnish friend. I was about to go to the hospital closest to me, which was actually a state hospital. And she went, don't go there. Don't go there, go to this one instead that's out of town. So I got in an Uber and went to that one. And I could see why. It was like the sort of glittering diamond exterior of Crystal Palace of old or something. And I had my little room and it was all very efficient. I was into surgery the next day. When I lived in Belgium, and Belgium's got an incredibly international, multi-culti, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, extremely high population density, but it's also a very overcrowded Belgium. I'd probably say Brussels is more overcrowded than London. And yet you can get a hospital appointment the same day. You can go to a polyclinic and get a blood test the same day. You can pick up the phone and speak to a doctor. Because it works like a business. Because if you went to your local polyclinic and you couldn't get an appointment with a doctor for a month, you would leave that polyclinic, you would go to another one, and guess what? The polyclinics that are working start opening more and more branches because they've got a very good business model. So I actually think that, you know, that there are shades in all of this. There's a nuanced framework where we don't have to be ambulance chasers with clipboards trying to extract as much money, insurance company based like America. We don't have to be full-blown failed state, you know, the NHS with a government attached to it like we've got in the UK. We can explore hybrid models like the ones that they have in Europe. I think I sort of unpacked all of it. Was there anything else on the list?
Well, I lived in Bournemouth as well for 25 years. And I lived in Lille, and I've visited Brussels as well when I was doing international sales. Mm. We had all that. I saw how the Tories sold off all the polyclinics in Bournemouth and in the New Forest and in Hampshire. They got rid of all the district hospitals which supported the A&Es. And so all that has already happened. The problem is she took on the free market from that. I'm not going to mention his name, but I did like him. He was an Anglo. His name was Sir Alan. Let's just go with that, Sir Alan. And she took on all these free market philosophies, and she admits in her biography she failed on energy. You can't put free market to public services. Every time it failed with all these big service providers. And I'm sorry, I feel that I wanted Brexit, and now I've seen Bournemouth lose 100 million, not just because of Brexit, also because Cameron getting rid of fake language schools. You remember that? The fake language schools where people just attended.
Right. Yeah.
But Bournemouth and Brighton have lost a lot of student revenue due to a bit of crime and due to racism. And we're seeing investors go to America, even though Trump is highly nationalistic. They're investing because they have to lead in tech companies. Everyone's leaving the UK to go to Europe.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'd say that's down to a lot of hyper-regulation. We can't actually set up any sort of Silicon Valley in the UK because there's way too much red tape that strangles innovation. I'm not sure about, Bournemouth, Brighton, losing students due to racism. I can't quite sort of make that one match up. But this is the other thing, and just because I've got to let you go now, Joe, because we've got to get to an advert break. But when it comes to the states running things, you talked about, well, David Cameron did this and that person did that. Throughout my life, I've seen that I used to work for the NHS in admin when I was a student, and I went through the whole agenda for change where they're rebanding everybody's salaries. Then we had PCTs, then we had trusts, then we had health boards, then we had PFI initiatives. When a government runs things, a new government comes in and goes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to now scrap NHS England. No, I'm not, because all the redundancies cost too much money. They end up just constantly moving the deck chairs around on a sinking ship, which is why I fundamentally believe, actually, to some degree, I think these things, when it's something as critical and acute and public-facing as health, I do think there needs to be a state overview of it. Same with utilities. The privatisation of utilities largely has not been great, but I'm not sure things would have been better if the government had been running our water either, if I'm honest with you. But the problem is, when you get politicians running things like a National Health Service, there's so much energy expended upon constant restructuring, reimagining the bureaucracy, where you take the energy out of actually treating patients. And I just think it's sort of sometimes a bit of a utopian concept that governments can run things better than businesses. I think businesses can be cynical. I think capitalism is by its nature psychopathic because it looks as people as units and profits as king. But I don't necessarily think governments are the best structure through which to operate things, because everything that this government operates, whether it's red, blue or whatever, usually starts to tank. So there you are. Joe, thank you ever so much for your call. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, well, talking about the NHS burns through £1 million every 4 minutes. That is not sustainable. When you want to talk about efficiency, you talk about what does stuff cost, the commissioning, how much should things actually be. When you talked about local councils and the corruption, we had it in Harrow when we took over 5 years ago. We found £2 million of alleged corruption in the highways department that was going on.
Wow.
We actually worked through to go and get the money back. And get the money from the insurers and over to the police to actually go and prosecute people. That is happening across the country. But the biggest thing is commissioning. In the NHS, a ring binder folder will probably cost you something like 20 quid. You can get one off Amazon for like 5.
Right.
It's commissioning. People do not have the time in their life anymore to shop around because either this company's got the contract or that company's got the contract and they've got a monopoly, so whatever they charge, you have to pay. And, it's not our money anyway, it's the taxpayers' money, and if we need more, we'll just ask for more. That's the issue. Things have to be run like a business. You have to make ends meet. You have to add up at the end of the day and say, right, actually, we've made a loss this year. What the heck are we going to do? That's how we've got to start thinking, because there is no more money. We've seen the government just print and print. We can't do that. You have £100, you got £100. You spend that £100 as wisely as you can. Not, I'll borrow some more and take some more. We've maxed out this country's credit card.
Don't get me started on things like consultancy firms either. Ugh, they're like an endless, bottomless pit of wasting money. Joe, thank you ever so much for your call. Joe in Brighton, giving us a rather different political flavour than we get on this channel. So it is good. That is the point. We like that.
We want all opinions.
We want all opinions. And like I said, free speech in talkTV really is free. So be like Joe and give us a call. Right, we're going to be taking a short break now, but after that we're joined by the wonderful historian, senior fellow at the New Culture Forum, Mr. Rafe Hadel-Manku. Back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Alex and Matthew Freeman, always plotting, always scheming to get to the bottom of a politician's meaning. Alex and Matthew Freeman.
Best of the day so far. That was brilliant. Can I have that one on the voice note as well?
That was amazing. I mean, we had to drop the Goodwin there because, like I said, Matthew Goodwin Freeman, it's got to be,
Matthew Goodwin Freeman. Yeah, well, maybe.
That
was really
Can
good.
we have that again, Tech? Because I loved that so much.
Alex and Matthew Freeman, always plotting, always scheming to get to the bottom of a politician's meaning. Alex and Matthew Freeman.
Oh my God, there was that little pause, that moment at the end. It was just so delicious.
Beautiful.
I feel like that was like strummed like that was just stunning.
That was
I
well done.
can't.
Good
I'm
luck
actually,
beating
that's one of
that,
the best
everyone.
things.
Come on.
It's one of the best things that's happened in 2026.
I mean, it's been a bit of a difficult year, so yeah, to be honest. That and the
was-
solar eclipse, those two
That
things.
was amazing. I think it was historic, in fact. Well, let's ask a historian whether that's a song for the ages. We're joined now by Rafe Hadel Mancu. Good morning, Rafe. How are you doing, my darling?
Doing very well. Lovely little bit of genteel intro there. You can't do as well with Hadel Mancu, I think. Doesn't flow off the tongue as well, but that was very good.
Don't you set a challenge to our audience. They'll do it, Rafe. They will do it. Now, let's, on a serious note, though, let us talk. I want to handle this subject very delicately today because the tragic death, and it is a tragic death, because I don't believe that Jason Arday actually meant any harm to anybody, and I think underneath some of the fabrications of which he has been accused probably lied an extremely vulnerable man who was in need. And I think what has happened with Jason Arday has just held a mirror up at all of society for various reasons. It's held a mirror up at identity politics. It's held a mirror up at what is the sort of gamification and the reality TV-ification of everything. It's held a mirror up at how we can all get so swept up in narratives that we actually forget humanity. We forget the person behind a story. And all in all, at one moment it was comical, and now it's actually a tragedy, and it is in many respects a story for our age.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, first, of course, we have to have our thoughts with his family,
Yes.
particularly with his children. An appalling way to end this terribly sad story. Look, I've been one of the most vocal critics of Jason Arday and the world fantasy that he built around himself. But in all of my commentary, the main takeaway has been this is not about Jason Arday. This is about a much bigger issue in society. As you say, this has exposed the DEI systems, not only here, but in Canada, America, Australia, and elsewhere. It's about his enablers, those people in the universities who plucked somebody from obscurity, who ticked all the right boxes, was the identity politics bingo card, and promoted him to a position where, of course, he was doomed to fail, given that he didn't have the underlying skills and qualifications. Of course, it's exposed also the nonsense of these DEI programs, I mean of these sociological and humanities areas of study like critical race theory that elevated somebody as a world leader on a tissue of lies. So there's a lot more to this story than Jason Arday. It was never really about him. He was a symptom of a much deeper issue that's affecting our society. How many other people are there? DEI doctors, nurses, architects, pilots in our system who shouldn't have been hired, whose CVs have not been cross-checked and verified. And my big fear is that we're already seeing people trying now to essentially shut down any debate on this fundamentally important issue that should concern all of us, anyone who is a passenger or client or a patient. These are things that affect us all in a very, very serious way, potentially. And my fear is now that the attempt is being made to silence any criticism of this.
I think as well, we were discussing earlier that as a society that seems to fetishize the idea of having poor mental health, that everyone's got some sort of acronym, that with Jason Arday, this is a man who clearly underneath it was vulnerable and probably did have psychological issues. But because they wanted to believe the story so much, it was actually ignored. There was no safeguarding for him. So, and it's always the sort of be kind left who are like, oh, well, got to have compassionate leave, safe spaces, I'm triggered, so on and so forth. But they had a man standing in front of them who clearly needed affirmation and attention, who wanted to be seen, who wanted to be loved, who, had a compulsion to fabricate, let's say. But because he suited them so much to have a mascot for their own sense of self-worth, they were blinded to his needs. They were blinded to actually the psychology behind all of this, because they just wanted it all to be true so they could be held up as, isn't it wonderful? Look, you've got this sort of, magical pixie in your ranks. Rub its head and all the fairy dust is going to come out. And it's the same way that we now live in a society that goes on and on about mental health and how, precarious it is that everyone's about to go tonto, but they would happily affirm a 5-year-old who thinks they're a cat.
Yeah, and these are the people now who should be engaged in some form of introspection. Those people who have enabled somebody who clearly, as you say, did suffer from some sort of mental issue, was clearly a fantasist, somebody whose lies were so blatant, so outlandish, that they should have raised questions. I mean, the rest of us could see. So why couldn't people who were allegedly the brightest and the best in academia, amongst the woke establishment, amongst the media class, why couldn't they see what should have been obvious to anybody who claims to have been able to run, 30 marathons in 35 days, go through the whole list? Those are the questions. And it seems as if they were mesmerized and hypnotized by somebody who epitomized everything you would expect you would want to have in the virtue signaling icon of of an identity politics icon. I said to somebody the other day, he was the train spotter's equivalent of the Flying Scotsman. And they got so excited about this character that they were willing to suspend belief. And to think that these people who have positions of high authority would be so willing to immediately and instinctively circle the wagons around this chap to protect him at the outset, without even stopping to think what damage that might do to their own reputations, and to question whether there might be just some veracity to some of the allegations. It's a fascinating aspect of our current society.
Exactly. If we weren't so willfully blind and brainwashed by the cult of identity politics, actually what people may have seen in Jason Arday was a man who I think underneath it all was kind. I think he was actually quite a tender soul and tenacious. And there was actually underneath there a very positive story. But they wanted it so much, they fetishized it so much, they turned it into a pantomime of hyperbole. And at the end, he's been sort of eaten up and spat back out. And that's what is so sad, because with the correct sort of approach to someone like Jason Arday, the correct sort of nurturing, support and safeguarding, there was a lot, actually. There was a story. There was a very positive story that could have been told, and that is what makes this so tragic. It was the sort of extreme fetishization of Arday that ended up being his downfall. Let's move on to a completely different topic now. I'm going to play you a clip that no doubt you've already seen and heard circulating online, and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm going to be allowed to say this. You're probably going to shut me up in no time at all. But the obvious thing that 1,200 young men are going to need in the middle of a village like Little Piddington is a brothel. I don't think they're going to provide that. I have a feeling that's not going to be allowed. So, you know, the argument is going to be who stops this? Who's got a veto? And in the end, we should say, look, nobody's got a veto. If something is going to happen in the public interest, whether it's a prison, whether it's an asylum centre, we're going to have to do it.
First of all, I quite want to go around to Edwina's house and give it a bit of a tidy. No offence, Edwina, but you're a mucky pup. But, you know, the people reacted at outrage with this. Oh, great, so we've now reached the stage that we've got to build brothels for the migrants. But underneath all this, there's an acknowledgement of a truism here, isn't there? That these are probably, you know, sexually active young men who might have a fantasy about a white Western woman, who aren't going to come over here and suddenly live like, you know, monks, and pose a risk to society at large, as a result. I mean, actually, when you look at some of the videos put on platforms like TikTok by the people traffickers, they actually use the lure of white Western women scantily clad or in bikinis on the beach and getting drunk as an advertisement for come use our services. Go down Bournemouth and look what you can have. You don't get this in your home country, do you? Don't even see a flash of ankle on your high street. Come to Britain, hey, go down Essex, whoop, whoop, get what you like. There is a truism in all of that, Rafe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Edwina Currie was seriously suggesting that brothels be erected in villages up and down England's green and pleasant land. She was being facetious, I think, and she was simply, giving voice to a very real, understanding. Young men are sexually active, their hormones are going. You get those young men when they're English is one thing, but when they're coming from cultures which are rife with misogyny, where you have a separation of the sexes, you can just look at the incidence of rape around the world and you see the hot spots of rape on the map. The areas in the brightest red are the areas that constitute the greatest number of asylum seekers coming to this country. It's Sudan, it's Somalia, it's Eritrea. We have a list of the top 20 worst countries for sexual violence and sexual assault. And there you go. Those are the same countries that are supplying us with their young men. And they're not coming with their mothers, with their daughters, with their sisters, as you would expect if they were genuine refugees, as we saw with the Ukrainians. These are economic scouts being sent here by their families in order to bring the rest of the family. And what are they going to do on their off time? Well, they're going to look for fun and escapism. And here you have Edwina Currie, a former minister, acknowledging the fact, of course, that sexual assault is due to the arrival of these sorts of people, and if they don't have a brothel, they will be looking for other ways in which to fill their needs. And there's of course, no coincidence that rape in this country has quadrupled within the last 10, 11 years since 2015. It's no coincidence that now suddenly, out of nowhere, you have signs on public transport warning against sexual staring, against pressing, against sexual harassment. And now it seems as if our villages and towns are going to experience some of the same, where women are outnumbered 6 to 1 if these asylum seekers come in.
I mean, we've had Operation Scatter for a long time now. But I don't understand what Burnham thinks he's up to here, talking about we need to move migrants to middle-class areas. First of all, when it comes to sheer affordability, that's just not a great use of taxpayers' money. But secondly, it comes again to this idea of integration, the idea of security. If you've got people coming from, largely Muslim countries, and you stick them in the middle of, rural Worcestershire, they're not going to integrate. There is no way that they can integrate. And I was listening to the radio this morning and people were talking about all these options, is it the military bases, is it the hotels, is it the HMOs? I mean, look, if we're not going to send them back, we have got a problem, we've got to stick them somewhere. And they were suggesting, well, why don't we restart the refugee homes initiative that was so popular? I think it was 200,000 people said at the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, we don't mind taking refugees to come and live with us. And this is the problem, OK? Can't say it because that will make me a big screaming racist. But the problem here is most British people were very comfortable with the idea of taking Ukrainian refugees because they were women and they were Christian and they were culturally very similar, and for the most part they could speak our language well, that they actually were quite reflective of us ethnically, culturally, religiously. And because all the men were told you've got to stay at home, we knew that these people weren't any threat to us. The idea, I think, of having people, ordinary, Bob and Sue, having an Eritrean in the spare room, is a tinderbox.
Yeah, but that tells you everything you need to know. We all know what's going on. Even the Be Kind Brigade, even the Open Borders gang will never open their own front doors to all of this. My cousin took in Ukrainian refugees, great. Poland took in 2 million Ukrainian refugees. There have been no terror attacks. There's been no great increase in sexual violence. There's a huge distinction. I've said for a long time, we need to do away with the 1951 UN Convention on Refugees and create a new convention saying refugees must be rehoused within their continent of origin.
I totally agree.
Ukraine, come to Europe. I say, it's culture and religion that decide how well integrated you're going to be.
Exactly. Rafe, I've got to let you go. We've run out of time, but you are wonderful. Rafe Haydel-Mancu, ladies and gentlemen, but you don't go anywhere because we are back just after this break.
demonstrate to the public that you are doing everything.
But the key thing here, as you say, he's the Prime Minister. He has the power, as did previous Prime Ministers, to do things like build more prisons and failed to do so. This has been the first real test of Andy Burnham, where I'm going to please everybody. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Dan Hodges thinks I'm great. And then he's failed it at the first attempt.
I don't think he's... I don't think
I've been reading your columns, Dan. I mean, come on. You think the sun shines out of his backside.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial arena. Nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Phillips and Goodwin Freeman on Talk, the ultimate dream team. With a disposable Barbie to hand, there'd be quite the grandstand, the best pairing that you've ever seen.
Ooh. What are we? Fire starters, twisted fire starters.
Yeah.
There we go.
That
with a
was
disposable
really nice.
Barbie to hand. Hold on. Racist alert, don't touch that barbecue.
We should just have it here in the corner for the whole show. That's what we should have done next time.
What,
if I can find one. They're banned now, aren't they?
What?
Disposable barbecues.
Oh, I thought
They're
you
not
meant
allowed
the
to be sold
racist
anymore.
alert.
Oh, yeah, that.
Obviously, we're now a two-man team to ban the alert based upon
Well, I hear the next
DEI.
alert's going to be Andy Burnham reminding us that he's from the north. I think that's the next one we're going to
Oh, is it? Is it going to be Burnham's made a TikTok?
Subscribe here.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, seriously. Someone's message going, wildfires, goats. Goats eat anything and everything. Put goats on open land and they'll keep the vegetation low and clear. If councils can't be bothered to maintain open land, then employ a goat herder. A clean, natural resource, says Stephen in London. There you go.
Love it.
The solution to all of our problems all along
Nationalise the goat.
was goats.
Brilliant.
Just need like armies of legions of goats. Maybe we need to sort of get back into the concept of pannage, you know, proper husbandry and vergery.
I have no idea where you're going with this. I'm just going to sit here quietly and watch the chaos.
I've just used a load of words that you're like, I don't even know what she's on about.
Absolutely.
So down in the New Forest, right, they have a load of beautiful old oak trees and all the rest of it. And in the autumn, all the acorns fall down. And the wild ponies of the New Forest, if they went, you know, acorn mad, if they scoffed all these things, they're going to get indigestion. They might die.
Yeah.
They might get colleagues. They might get colic.
Right.
They might die. And so they go, all right, ponies, off you go, out you go. And then all the farm animals come in, especially pigs. Pannage pigs is called pannage. And they have the big rings in their nose.
Oh, right.
Because they like rooting pigs. They go and sort of try and eat things. But if they were to munch all the roots of the forest floor, it would kill the trees. So they have the big nose rings.
Them being able to...
I mean, obviously they've got the nose rings because they're going to go join a pro-pally march.
I was going to say they're going to a march afterwards, yeah.
I'm not sure quite how much the, you know, sort of, you know, infidels
Pigs
would enjoy, you know, the future pork being on their pro-pally protest, but there you go. No, but they that means they can't destroy the actual roots, but they clear the forest floor of acorns so that then the horses can come back and don't get sick. And it actually makes amazing pork, which is called pannage pork, which you can buy in Hampshire. It's kind of like our own version of Iberico.
There we go. You've learnt that today on Talk. Go to Hampshire, buy some special pork, don't put it on your disposable barbecue, and wait for the alarm.
Also, can I say, if you want to mix all of these disciplines together, goats, disposable barbecues, the lot of it. You know, I used to live in Kenya. Nothing better than Nyama Choma, goat on a barbecue.
Goat curry.
That's how they work.
Love goat curry.
There used to be a great place in Nairobi called Roadhouse, and you'd go in and you'd just buy goat by the kilo, and it'd be sort of goats on spits, and their idea of butchery was just like whack, whack, whack.
Love it.
It was delicious, you know, grease.
You can
falling
tell
off
it's
the
nearly
chin.
lunchtime. You can tell we're all getting a bit hungry near the end of the show.
Fancy seeing if we can go and find some goats later
today. Find a goat curry after this, and okay.
I know somewhere that does barbecue goat actually.
They're on a disposable barbecue.
No, no.
It's not the same.
Not the same. Well, we're not allowed that because
Andy Burnham says no.
Andy, don't burn your house down.
We've got to get rid of his name. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
his name.
His name is dangerous.
Andy Ham.
Andy Ham
was not burn.
Okay, yeah, right. This is getting...
Moving on.
I don't even know where we're going with this.
I don't know what.
Basically, we're waiting for Steve Gill to join us on the other side of the pond. That was just filler, but Steve Gill's still not ready, so we've got to carry on... We've got to carry on filling up, which is... well, this is where messages come in handy, of course. Good morning, lively Alex and Matthew. I wonder if that's going to be lovely and is a typo, or if it actually is lively.
Probably lively.
It is both.
You know, yeah.
I think we're lively and lovely.
Oh, that's very
I think it's interchangeable.
Sweet.
In my opinion, the only party with any common sense and desire to get us back to being Great Britain is Reform. We need change. Conservatives had their chance and failed. Labour were given their chance and they are failing completely. Nigel Farage and Reform must be given a chance. The boats must be stopped. Reform will do it. Economic growth is essential. Reform will get us back on track. This is the interesting thing, isn't it? It's easier to have never been an incumbent, to not have your copybook blotted at all, than it is to have sort of, you know, lived and lost, essentially.
That's what we're now looking to. It's either Reform are going to come in and going to hopefully deliver these things, and if they don't, then they will be just the same as everyone else. Or if something happens to Reform in the next couple of years, I mean, there's still 2-3 years till we're going to have a general election, right? If something happens to Reform, then it's going to be, well, the Reform bubble's stopped. What next? Do we go back to the Conservatives? Do we stick with Labour, who are all better under Andy Burnham? Like, the whole next few years are going to be so interesting because there's this hope that we might solve the problems in this country, but then we're still stuck with the Labour government now.
What I keep realising, actually, is, I mean, how long was it that Northern Ireland didn't have any sort of working devolved government?
Years.
It was a long time.
And no one paid any attention.
No one noticed.
No.
It's a bit like Andy Burnham's just been on holiday and now he's just, you know, farting around down high streets making TikToks. Because we've got this morass of bureaucracy, the Gordian knot of apparatchiks, the pen pushers, the civil service, which just function and run everything into the ground, while all the politicians do is sort of do a Temu talent show of, you know, attacking each other and, you know, who's got the best act, who can make the best TikTok video. So you've got Temu talent show and then talentless blob, and there you go. I mean, what we actually need is the blob to be deblobified.
We need a culling of the civil service, absolutely going through, getting rid of so many of these needless jobs and actually putting in standards where it's, no, you rock up at the start of the day, you deliver, and then you go home at the end of it. Not, well, turn up... Well, there was that... the TikToker who was celebrating how many days she's getting off from working at the civil service and encouraging everyone to come work at the civil service because you can claim this and claim that and work here. And while she's TikToking from Paris, it seems. It's like,
crazy.
just, sorry, get behind a desk, do your job, or if you're on your summer holiday, enjoy the summer holiday. Get off the phone for a bit.
Like I say, I think the worst thing about 26th century? Where have I gone?
Yeah, well, who's in charge? We
Me.
still... wow.
Yeah, they've cryogenically frozen me, and I'm back.
Oh, God.
And I'm running it, and I'm telling you, it's good.
Lovely.
It's looking good. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know what I was going to say.
National army of goats everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's it. That's my one policy.
And we still haven't solved the small boats crisis, I presume, in that.
Goats for boats. You just have all the goats on the French beaches biting. You know, get the goats angry and feed them boat. I don't know.
Moving on.
Lisa's message going, the point of the emergency alarm yesterday was to frighten and terrorise people. It worked. I did it. I don't think it definitely didn't frighten and terrorise me.
I think it frightened people when it first went off because we were like, what was that? Oh, it's the alert thing. It was then the content of it. That I saw earlier on someone putting on social media that you can have emergency alerts and then severe alerts and you can like toggle them on and off. If that was a severe alert, then I think they need to raise the bar of what we get sent out because everyone knows it's hot. Everyone knows there's a massive risk of wildfires. We've seen it all over social media, all over the news. Everyone understands. But that was almost just please everyone be sensible, be careful, broken bit of glass, a cigarette butt, all those sorts of things. Not there's a tornado, there's a flood, there's a wildfire near you. Like, that's what it's supposed to be.
We don't get those things here. We don't.
Well, we get wildfires. We've got some going on at the moment.
Yeah, but we've got fewer wildfires this year than the last 10 years or something.
It should have been an alert. The only time that should be used is in imminent danger. It should be, there is a wildfire in your postcode. These are the steps you need to do to take safe. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be used as a sort of informative. The government's got enough stuff to do that.
I wasn't remotely fake. When the alarm went off, I just kind of ignored it like it's something I hear all the time. And now, because I had it about 4 times during the night, it scrambled my head and made me miss my actual morning alarm because I was like, there's no wildfire! And I hit my phone and went back to sleep. It's Boy Who Cried Wolf is gone.
Yeah.
It's done. It's useless. If you sort of waste your emergency national alarm on be careful if you're having a barbecue, let me tell you one thing. Emergency alarm, done.
Yeah.
Redundant. Pointless. Hey, Steve Gill is now with us. Good morning, Steve. Well, good afternoon to, well, British time, us, Steve. Good afternoon to Steve on screen. Good morning to Steve in actual America. Right, let us begin talking about your president and what is going on in Iran and will this latest approach work? Let's have a little look at what Donald Trump's been saying.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
By the way, no, it's too orange even for Donald Trump, the mysterious Mac. Steve, I mean, can he do this? Is this going to be the latest gambit? Because the problem is, for something like this to happen, you can't just go around the world and go like, oh, ours now. Well, the British did it a while ago, but turns out you're not allowed to do that so much anymore. You would need international buy-in, and the big problem Donald Trump has is, well, most of the world has Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, I thought we already did this with Greenland. Do we already have it too? I mean, it kind of gets confusing over what we've taken at this point. Yeah, again, I think you have to take Trump seriously, but not literally. And I think, again, he needs to be careful of how he talks because people are taking this literally. If we're going to take over the Straits of Hormuz, we're going to set up roadblocks and boat blocks and charge people a fee.
I don't think that's what he's talking about. But again, I think they need to be very careful in letting him go off on these riffs where he's, making these proclamations, particularly when you look at the Iran conflict, where over and over again, it's a victory every week, and then we got to go back in and fight for another victory. And I think, at this point, it's time to stop talking and either start doing or shut up for a while until you actually do something that includes the conflict.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, the doing. It seems to have quietened down a little bit of late, certainly from, my front garden where I watch the B1s take off and come back. It seems to have, there's been a bit of a lull in activity, and I'm not hearing any more about meetings, negotiations, intermediaries in the form of Oman or Pakistan or Turkey or whomever it may be who thinks they can sort of be the interlocutor between America and Iran. So I'm not really sure where we're at in the stalemate.
Yeah, and I think that's been the frustration for people here and around the world. Okay, what is the status? You keep telling us every week, okay, we're on the brink of an agreement. They're going to sign the deal. All will be hunky-dory. It will all be peace and unicorns and rainbows. And then the next week it's back to, hey, I'm going to blow the snot out of them if they don't, sign this week. So I think it's good that we're not hearing the daily updates of what's coming next. But at some point, we've got to take the action that, either shuts it down or, I think he's in a box. He doesn't want to walk away, but at the same time, he doesn't want to, destroy their power systems and their water systems and literally bomb them into the dark ages, literally, because he didn't want to hurt the Iranian people. But I think at some point, the only way to hurt the regime is to take those actions that will have an impact on the Iranian people.
Now, there were pretty dramatic scenes as the president was hurried off Air Force One secretly after someone was seen holding a portable surface-to-air missile near the NATO summit in Turkey. What do you know about this, Steve? I mean, some of the images of the footage that has been released showing this decoy move is... Well, he's essentially smuggled into a catering truck and sent on a separate aircraft to fly to Britain from Ankara. I mean, evidently, he is the leader of the free world. There is a lot going on, interventionist Middle Eastern policy, which is always going to put the crosshairs on your head. But apparently this is all down to Israeli intelligence. Tell us more, Steve.
Well, first of all of the weaponry that we left behind, when we, under Joe Biden fled and left, $80 billion worth of weapons that included things like surface-to-air missiles, they're out there somewhere. And in the world, I'll sell anything, you can buy anything. I have no question that there are surface-to-air missiles that are floating around in the hands of people that we would consider very dangerous, whether they're in your backyard shooting at those B-1 bombers or whether it's trying to target President Trump as he, launches a return flight from Ankara. So I think it was a serious threat. They took it seriously. They should have. To me, the bizarre thing, guys, is the media carping and complaining. Why didn't you tell us about the secret plan to keep him from being shot down? It's like, because it was secret. If we told you, you would have told people. We already have some of the reporters who've been giving, in detail of how many weapons, how many ballistic missiles we have, how many drones we have left in the Iran conflict. Let's not tell people exactly what's going until you get the president to safety. And I think some of the media who are complaining about that are revealing themselves to be the kind of folks who've been taken off air, not because they're too biased, but because they're too stupid.
Oh, we definitely have a blight of extreme stupidity over in this country. By the way, Steve, does America have alarm systems on phones where the government can sort of send out a warning sign? One assumes in states where there are potential tornadoes, there must be something like that.
Yes, and Tennessee is one of those places where we are in the tornado season, the storm season, and like you guys, all of a sudden my phone will start blaring in the middle of the night, warning me of a tornado that, you look outside and the sky's clear. Or we get these, alerts, some child is missing, and those start blaring off on our phones. It's like, where are they? They're halfway across the state. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in Middle Tennessee in Nashville. Why is my phone telling me there's some missing kid, 300 miles away? But yeah, we got those. And like you, it becomes a little boy who cried wolf, and people ignore them and don't pay attention to them.
Would you want to know what our severe alert issued by the UK government was yesterday that went off on some people's phones 4 or 5 times? Tech Up, play the horrible noise so Steve can sort of, relive the trauma with us. Right. So imagine that echoing, not simultaneously, but sort of, you know, dotted around wherever you may be, it all going off like this. And the severe alert from the government wasn't that Vladimir Putin was going to nuke us off the face of the planet. No. It said residents, landowners and visitors should not under any activity that could start a fire, including disposable barbecues, fire pits or fireworks. That was it.
First of all...
We had an emergency alarm over not having barbecues.
First of all, that alert is exactly the same one we have here, the so-called Amber Alerts, that some kid has been, you know, snatched or they can't find the child. And then, you know, a few hours later, you hear nothing more about it. You don't even know what the rest of the story was. It's the same alert. That's the same exact alert we get for tornado warnings. So, you know, welcome to our world. And yeah, I know we had a pretty dramatic split with you guys 250 years ago. We've just been celebrating that. But barbecue was left out of our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence. Those are fundamental priorities, fundamental rights. I don't care if you're in England or the U.S. A fundamental right to barbecue should take precedence over the fear that, hey, it's hot.
Can I just say, Americans must look at Britain and go, you people are mad. Yeah. You know, what? We went up to 37 degrees the other day and we've got like special warning signs, but there are states, you know, in America that live at about, you know, 40 plus degrees most of the year round that don't seem to have alarms going off going, oh, a bit hot out there. We actually had front pages of newspapers before the solar eclipse was like reminders not to look directly at the sun. I mean, you must think we're a nation of absolute imbeciles who need to be told how to wipe their bottoms and tie their shoelaces. And
thank God for air conditioning here. I think that's the problem in Europe. You know, people die by the droves because, you know, the green advocates have, you know, banned air conditioning. And I will admit that sometimes I may leave mine at like 68 degrees. I don't know what that is centered, you know, in British terms. But we had 102 degrees here in Nashville yesterday. It is hot. That's part of being in the South in the summer. And we just try to stay and drink as much sweet tea and air conditioning as we can sustain.
I mean, Lord knows how Texas survives with its love of barbecue and its hot climate. Lord knows how Australia even exists. I mean, get rid of that whole island. It's such a risk to the world.
By the way, quick question. We have the big fight in the U.S. all the time. North Carolina, on our East Coast, has barbecue that is very much more vinegar-based. Texas, it's much more that kind of red, deep, you know, smoky barbecue-based. Tennessee is more in that Kansas City barbecue sauce. We literally have different kinds of barbecue sauce. Do you guys use like the deep red, or is it more the vinegar-based that we have in like North Carolina? What is the barbecue sauce?
No, Steve, you don't understand the British barbecue
issue here.
No. A British barbecue is a sausage that is completely black and inedible, and that's it. And maybe a sort of one-looking potato salad that you got from Iceland. That's the British barbecue, usually on some sort of soggy, wrinkly plastic plate. And if you're really lucky, someone might throw in a jar of couscous or something to be a little bit exotic.
I keep inviting you to Nashville. I'm telling you, in October, Jack Daniels, the liquor company, has the Jack Daniels Barbecue Festival that draws tens of thousands of people to tiny Lynchburg. I think there's 3,000 residents. 150 barbecue teams from all over the world compete in pork, chicken, barbecue sauce, and dessert that they make right on site. October, you guys need to be here for the Jack Daniels Barbecue Festival.
Well, I think we do. And we're not going to be like barbecues in Britain, so over we go. We're coming.
It'd be the good stuff.
No, that's what I need, the good stuff. Talk about the good stuff. I understand that a certain Count Binface has made it over to America, virally at least, that he is now a known. I don't know whether you've come across Count Binface, Steve. If not, have a little look at this.
I think I've given people more joy over the last 4 weeks than he has. So I would call that a victory. I mean, has he been invited to be guest judge at the fancy dress competition at the World Conquer Championship? I don't think so. So you tell me what victory looks like.
Oh, Steve. I mean, we seem to have a lot of rubbish that we import from America. DEI, wokeism. I'm afraid you guys invented that stuff and it's poisoning our society. How long before Donald Trump is having a sort of, you know, midterm primary playoff or something with a man dressed as a garbage can?
And maybe we should make him one of the judges at the Jack Daniel Barbecue Festival, since he's judging fashion contests now. Look, the big talk this week hasn't been a bin face. It's that Carolyn Leavitt is leaving very dramatically, very quickly as the White House press secretary. So the sweepstakes of who will follow her into that position has begun in earnest. But a lot of speculation. Okay, why the sudden exit? There was some cameras that apparently caught kind of a tense exchange between her and the president. Was there some rift that has exploded? But who steps in next to be the White House press secretary? Maybe Count Binford or whatever should put his name in the hopper and submit a resume.
Oh, do you know what? I'm just thinking maybe I should send my CV over.
Yes.
Yeah. I reckon. Also, by the way, I think Donald Trump might have left his compact on my desk, so I can return this to him as well. It's a very fetching shade of orange. Steve.
We have had a British accent press secretary. I don't know if you all remember Tony Blankley, who was the press secretary for Ronald Reagan. He was a Brit. He was a great friend of mine, dear friend. So we've been there before. We'd welcome you back.
Well, there we go. Job done. I'll ping you my CV over on WhatsApp. Get it to the big man, and I'll be on the flight. And that's how we also get to the. That's how we get to the Nashville Barbecue Festival as well. Steve, thank you ever so much. Always wonderful to catch up with wonderful Steve Gill from the other side of the pond, and always wonderful as well to have Matthew Goodwin Freeman, who's been sitting in for Peter Barnes. And well, Peter Barnes better hurry back because you're pretty good.
Thank you. That's very kind. It's been good fun.
It's been great fun.
Always
hasn't
fun.
It? It's been wonderful fun. Right, so that's it. That is going to be us clocking off for the day. But I will be back tomorrow, same time, of course, of 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock. So whatever you're doing, enjoy your loved ones, have fun, listen out for those alerts, and please don't light a barbecue. Thank you for your company today, and have a wonderful afternoon. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Demonstrate to the public that you are doing everything.
But the key thing here, as you say, he's the Prime Minister. He has the power, as did previous Prime Ministers, to do things like build more prisons and failed to do so. This has been the first real test of Anti-Burnham, where I'm going to please everybody. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Dan Hodges thinks I'm great. And then he's failed it at the first attempt.
I don't think he's... I don't think
I've been reading your columns, Dan.
Hodges,
I mean,
Dan Hodges
come on. You think the sun shines out of his backside.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics, I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4